Hello everybody! The following are all my She-Hulk reviews from back in 2022. Has it really been that long since we've last seen our beautiful green goddess? I decided to collect my reviews into one big video for your convenience. I might do the same for some of my other series, but we'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoy, as She-Hulk drives me hulking mad for the next 2.5 hours.
What the hell is even that?
Last we saw Hulk, he had merged his two halves and helped the Avengers save the universe. We now pick up on his life through the eyes of his cousin and her journey into becoming the She-Hulk. We meet Jennifer Walters, a lawyer, as she rehearses her closing statement for a trial. Her fellow lawyer, Dennis, criticizes it.
But today, you, the jury, can prove that's not the case.
More smiles.
That's a strange thing to suggest. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's appropriate to smile during a closing statement, especially considering the seriousness of the crime. His criticisms make no sense. He's dismissed without hesitation by Jen's friend Nikki, and he's comically shoved out of the scene. He feels more like a cartoon than a real character. All in all, this is an awkward start.
I just need to stick the landing on this case.
You will. And if it doesn't go our way, you can just Hulk out.
How would that accomplish anything? I was under the impression Nikki was meant to be a relatively intelligent character. Why does she make this nonsensical suggestion? Well, it's a clumsy way of introducing the topic of Jen being a Hulk, and transitioning to her origin story. This will become a trend of the episode. The writers want particular things to happen, so awkward events are shoehorned in to set them up. We flash back to Jen on a road trip with Bruce. He explains why he's back in human form.
My arm started to heal. It's all because, I made this little device which keeps me in human form.
Why would being in human form allow his arm to heal? His Hulk form is stronger in every way, so wouldn't it better contribute to healing him? The reason for this contrivance is that the writers need Bruce to be able to bleed. That way his blood can get into Jen's system and she can become She-Hulk. They've come up with this incoherent reasoning so the sequence of events can occur. A spaceship from Sakaar suddenly appears, causing a car crash. Later, Smart Hulk will say,
They're probably trying to deliver a message. I gotta get to the bottom of that. Weird stuff just kind of finds you when you're a Hulk.
It's ignored for the rest of the episode. It's the catalyst for Jen's Hulkification, yet the characters barely seem to care about it. Sure, they're primarily concerned with Jen's condition, but it feels strange that such an important plot point is dropped for the rest of the episode. And if it isn't eventually justified, Jen's origin will become yet more awkward and contrived. Jen gets Bruce's blood in her system, causing her to Hulk out. This doesn't make sense. In order for Jen to go through this sort of Hulkification, she needs two things: Bruce's blood and an extremely high dose of gamma radiation. If you recall, Bruce became the Hulk after getting injected with a radiation-resistant serum and getting bombarded with gamma radiation. The serum allows his body to synthesize radiation, and the gamma served as the substance to be synthesized. Both are necessary components. Sure, contact with Bruce's blood causes mutation, and some level of gamma radiation is passed through it.
It's possible gamma sickness. Milwaukee. A man drank one of those Guarana sodas. Guess it had a little more kick than he was looking for.
But not enough to cause full-blown Hulkification. To become Abomination, Blonsky needed a large dose of gamma radiation in addition to Bruce's blood. Basically, Bruce's cells are the engine and gamma is the fuel. Jen gets the former, but not the latter. And I'm not certain those few drops of blood would be enough. Jen runs off into the woods, and she wakes up hours later with no memory. She makes her way to the bathroom of a bar, looking disheveled and beat up. Some women enter and immediately set to helping Jen, in a peculiar manner.
Put this on. Oh, thank you, but I just need to get cleaned up. I don't need you to put makeup on me.
They don't ask about her injuries, offer to call the police, or even tend her wounds. Instead, they apply makeup, wrap her in a fuzzy coat, and put her in some shiny shoes. It's beyond bizarre. What person would react this way? Yet the scene treats them like they're being helpful.
Whoever did this to you does not care about you.
You do not need him, or her, or them.
How considerate of them to respect the abuser's identity. Jen calls Bruce and waits outside for him. A group of guys exit the bar and try chatting her up. She gets so annoyed by their pestering that she hulks out, and Smart Hulk has to tackle her before she literally murders them. It's convenient that they happen to arrive at that exact moment. The men don't say anything overtly rude or threatening, and their actions aren't anything more than annoying, yet the directing gives them this sinister tone.
You with anyone?
I'm waiting for my ride.
What's your name?
Like the bathroom scene, it's tonally bizarre. The whole escapade to this bar is strange. The women are portrayed as comically friendly, while the men are portrayed as comically malicious. I can't take any of this seriously. And Jen's attempted homicide is never addressed. She never expresses guilt over it, and Smart Hulk doesn't chastise her. What the fuck? Jen wakes up in Hulk's safe house in Mexico.
You're Hulk again.
Smart Hulk.
Hold the phone. The Russos came up with Smart Hulk to differentiate Endgame's new version of the character. But now it's his canonical in-universe name? Why?
I didn't come up with it. You never have a choice with these names.
Then who did? Literally no one has ever referred to him by that name. And why does he feel the need to tell it to Jen? He clearly doesn't like the name. Is it purely to set up a joke?
Smug Hulk.
Smart Hulk.
Of course it is.
We share a rare combination of genetic factors that allow us to synthesize gamma radiation.
What? Have the writers not seen The Incredible Hulk? They seem to think that the only external factor that turned Bruce into the Hulk was a high dose of gamma radiation. They don't know about the radiation-resistant serum. If this is the case, then that explains this exposition. The writers believe they are providing an explanation for something that has been a mystery until now. Why did exposure to gamma radiation turn Bruce into the Hulk? And how could they create a similar scenario for Jen to become She-Hulk? Their solution was this vague idea of genetic factors that allow their bodies to utilize gamma. They have unwittingly created an enormous contrivance by implementing a solution to a non-existent problem. Now we must accept the following reality. While Bruce was developing a serum to allow the body to synthesize radiation, his unique genetic makeup coincidentally already allowed him to do so. This is beyond stupid. No one in The Incredible Hulk acts like this is the case. Wouldn't Bruce and Betty have analyzed his blood work before conducting this experiment to get an idea of how the serum would affect him? Wouldn't they have noticed something peculiar about his biology? General Ross was dead set on recreating the Hulk, which is why he needed Bruce. However, if it was some sort of unique genetic factors that created the Hulk, why didn't he investigate Bruce's relatives? Why didn't Stearns mention these genetic factors when he described the Hulk's mechanics? He studied Bruce's blood extensively.
The gamma pulse came from the amygdala. I think Dr. Ross's primer lets the cells absorb the energy temporarily and then it abates.
You see, this is what happens when you don't do your homework.
You and I, we share a rare combination of genetic factors. I have been analyzing your blood, and the way it synthesized gamma, I was able to use it to completely heal my arm.
If Jen became She-Hulk because she shares certain genetic factors with Bruce, why would her blood heal his arm when his own blood couldn't? Also,
clearly when you wield the full power of the Infinity Stones, it is irreparable damage to your being.
I guess the might of the Infinity Stones are no match for Jen's uber-special blood.
I have been analyzing your blood, and the way it synthesized gamma, I was able to use it to completely heal my arm.
Because I'm better than you?
It's just basically different.
In a better way.
Whoa, now that's telling. Jen's initial reaction isn't happiness for Hulk. It isn't even excitement over the potential of her blood to cure injuries. Instead, it's all about her and how this accomplishment reflects on herself. This indicates that Jen is a self-centered person, quick to brag and attribute success to herself.
My arm is healed, and now I'm able to be my fully integrated self again.
Smug Hulk.
This is immediately followed by projection, calling Bruce smug after saying something overtly smug. Hulk destroys Jen's blood samples.
It's way too dangerous to get out in the world, even if there's only a millionth % chance that it makes another one of us.
Okay.
This makes sense. The Incredible Hulk stressed how dangerous Bruce's blood is.
Bruce, this is all you. This gamma technology has limitless applications.
We've got to destroy it. All of it. Tonight, we're going to incinerate it.
We could get the Nobel for this.
You don't understand the power of this thing. It is too dangerous. It cannot be controlled.
We have the antidote now.
They don't want the antidote. They want to make it a weapon.
And we saw firsthand what happens when it gets into the wrong hands. On the topic of Jen's blood, both her and Hulk seem to overlook an obvious complication: Jen's menstruation. Hulk believes no less than incineration is necessary, so he definitely wouldn't be satisfied with Jen throwing her menstrual pads in the trash. And despite Jen being at Hulk's safe house for several months, neither of them bring up this concern. Smart Hulk's cautiousness, and Jen's biology, would have prevented them from forgetting this detail, so why is it never brought up? When Smart Hulk explains that this will radically change her life for years to come, Jen asks for an inhibitor device just like the one he was wearing earlier in the episode. That way, she can immediately return to her normal life.
That device was a prototype. It was calibrated specifically to me.
Make me one. Calibrate it to me.
Can't do it,
Yes,
Jen.
you can.
It seems the writers couldn't be fucked to come up with a legitimate reason for Hulk to not do so. Everything we see in the episode tells us he can make one, yet he says he can't and doesn't elaborate. Jen, despite being desperate to resume her life, doesn't question him further, which is definitely not in line with her character. The writers have accidentally fucked themselves. You see, the inhibitor was needed to put Bruce in human form, so he could bleed and thus turn Jen into She-Hulk. They had a problem and created the inhibitor to solve it. But now they've hit another bump in the road. Jen doesn't want to be She-Hulk, and this device means she never has to be. The central conflict of the show has been erased, and the writers need yet another solution for this dilemma of their own making. But rather than come up with something clever, they just said, fuck it, and didn't bother with even a flimsy excuse. Smart Hulk just says, nah, I can't. During this scene, Jen is pretty upset.
Make me one. For me. Calibrate it to me.
I have been struggling with this for years. The best that I could do was merge my two halves. We could possibly do the same for you.
No. I just got my own office. I have business
this is
cards.
it. There is no going back to what you were before.
But she doesn't Hulk out. Compare this to the bar scene. A few seconds of unwanted attention was enough to make her go berserk. Here, Hulk is dropping bombshell after bombshell, and Jen isn't taking it well, yet she remains in human form. Juxtapose this to the Incredible Hulk, which precisely defined when the transformation occurred, going so far as to place a specific BPM to it. Despite being told that Jen's transformation works by the same rules, there's no consistent trigger for her Hulk outs. It changes depending on what the writers want from scene to scene. To begin the process of integrating Jen's Hulk half, Smart Hulk sets up a test to trigger a transformation.
The triggers are anger and fear.
Those are like the baseline of any woman just existing.
Right. Kinda cringe.
Hulk almost kills Jen with saw blades. What the fuck? He even admits there's no contingency.
Kind of feels like if I don't transform, I'm gonna die. You have a plan B for that?
No.
Smart Hulk's a cautious guy, as is demonstrated numerous times in this very episode. Why would he do something so reckless? Jen hulks out and breaks out of the chamber. Hulk tries to calm her when they realize she's completely conscious as She-Hulk. She has no alter ego and no shift in personality. And yeah, that's not satisfying. Bruce's journey set a precedent. It took him a lot of work to become a whole person. Jen just gets to start out integrated for no reason. How is the audience meant to get invested if there's no struggle?
Bruh. You know, that's about $1 million worth of damage back there.
Wait, if Jen is conscious, that means she purposefully caused all that damage and doesn't give a shit. This defines Jen as a reckless and unsympathizing person, willing to trash Hulk shit just because she's angry. These traits will get further expanded on as we continue.
The first time, it was so intense I could barely remember what was happening, but now it's like, it's settled in.
So Jen wasn't in control those first two Hulk outs. But like a light switch, she now has complete control. Why? There is nothing to explain this transition. Yet again, it stems from a problem the writers sought to solve. For whatever reason, they were dead set on having those bar scenes. However, if Jen was in control from her first Hulk out, she would have no reason to go there. At the same time, they want Jen to be a fully integrated Hulk, so they claim her Hulk form settled in after barely a day. And even with this excuse, the bar scenes still aren't justified. Bruce was conscious and hulking out at the same time Jen was. He would have caught her immediately. The episode should have gone from the crash straight to the safe house in Mexico. The bar scenes add nothing and fuck up the pacing.
How do I turn back into Jen? How did you do it?
Usually I'd fall out of a jet or I'd get knocked out by a robot and I'd wake up as Banner. Natasha for a little while would tell me a lullaby.
First of all, why isn't Hulk explaining that calming down causes you to revert back into human form? Second, Veronica is a mech, not a robot. Hulk is smart enough to know this. Third, why is he talking about the lullaby like it was a literal lullaby? It was a ritual that calmed Hulk. It put the beast to sleep, so to speak. That's why they called it a lullaby. This reframing is so awkward, it requires Hulk to say he was told a lullaby. You sing a lullaby, you don't tell one. The writers have made Hulk describe the previous Marvel movies as if to purposefully make them sound as stupid as possible.
Natasha for a little while would tell me a lullaby.
Walk me through how that worked again.
I don't have a great explanation for it.
Hulk doesn't understand how the lullaby works? Seriously? Then how did they come up with it in the first place? I assumed it was something devised by Bruce and Natasha, but apparently he's clueless about it. It's like the writers couldn't wrap their heads around the idea, so they had Hulk not understand it either. I get the strong impression the writers haven't seen much of the previous movies, and of the ones they have seen, they don't particularly like or respect them. Great, just the people we want running a Hulk show.
I don't think you have thought through how dangerous this level of power is. I mean, one mistake, one freakout is literally life or death.
Okay, I'll be careful.
Wow, Jen. It seems like you really don't care about the safety of those around you. This reinforces her self-centered nature. She brushes aside the lethal danger she poses to others, assuming she can just be careful, despite it being only a day since she nearly murdered a bunch of people.
Anger means death and destruction for everything and everyone around you when people start seeing you as a monster that never goes away.
Fine.
This is a rare, serious moment for Smart Hulk, and helps get across the dire consequences of being the Hulk, to both Jen and the audience. This is life or death. This godlike power is a curse, one that can lead to untold suffering if approached carelessly. For this fleeting moment, it's like we have actual stakes. Hulk tries to teach Jen yoga, but she doesn't take it seriously, so they give up.
You do revert back to Gen form when you sleep.
What are you talking about? She went to bed in Gen form in the first place. The show can't remember what happened in the previous movies. Can it at least remember what happened in the last scene? Jen is taught about being a Hulk.
Spandex is your best friend.
¿Tienes más stretchy?
She takes none of it seriously and proves to be better than Hulk at almost every task during her first attempt. Smart Hulk becomes increasingly jealous and insecure.
I think I'm jealous. Is that what I'm feeling? You don't have another guy to wrestle with for 10 years.
So much for Smart Hulk getting over Bruce's inferiority complex.
Becoming Smart Hulk fixed Banner's inferiority complex, and so now he just thinks he's awesome.
And like with Jen's ability to control her Hulk form, her instant great skill at everything Smart Hulk tries to teach her isn't very satisfying. One way to make an audience root for a character is to give them a challenge to overcome. So far, Jen has 0 challenges. And it devalues Hulk's journey. He spent over a decade managing his condition and becoming a complete person. Jen gets there instantaneously and is even better than him in some areas. There's no justification for this and only serves to make Hulk look incompetent.
When you have powers like this, it's like putting a target on your back and the backs of all the people you care about.
Oh, yet another way my life is ruined. Thanks, Bruce!
Hulk is trying to stress how she needs to be able to protect herself and those she loves. Jen is entirely ungrateful for this and even blames him for her circumstances. But it was her own damn fault.
Inhibitor. Jen, get away from me. I'm bleeding.
And even so, she knows he's the Hulk. She should have already known to avoid Bruce's blood. And she's the one who crashed the car in the first place, because she was too busy talking about Cap's sex life to watch the road.
Obviously, Captain America was a virgin.
Jen takes no responsibility for her actions.
All right, all I've been doing is showing you the downsides of being a Hulk, but there are a few upsides. We can drink so much and not get drunk.
Not sure how that's a positive, but whatever. We get a rare moment of Jen not treating Hulk like crap. It's soured by the realization that she's only being nice because she's now gotten something out of being She-Hulk that benefits her personally. They try yoga again, and Jen reiterates her desire to leave.
Being a superhero is a trial by fire.
Bruce, I'm not gonna be a superhero.
What else you gonna do as a Hulk?
Return to my career.
It's not one or the other, Jen, but we can't pretend like we aren't two of the few people on Earth that can actually protect her.
Bruce has always wanted to help people, and after he learned that Hulk could be used as a force for good, he embraced that part of himself and became willing to unleash Hulk to protect the innocent. He's also dealt with extraordinary threats, the sort of thing few people are capable of facing. He knows the importance of such people banding together to protect the world, so it makes perfect sense for Hulk to have this perspective. Smart Hulk tries to impart this wisdom to Jen, but she's not having it. While her initial desire to return to her normal life is understandable, her continued refusal to use She-Hulk in a responsible manner characterizes her as selfish and even hypocritical. At the start of the episode, Jen was practicing her closing argument for a case.
What is the responsibility of those with power? Do they have a duty to protect those without it? Show them that they will be held accountable, because those with the most power have the most to answer for.
She's become the exact person she'll later criticize, but she doesn't realize it. She's been granted this great power, yet has no interest in taking responsibility for it. Normally, I would assume this is set up for a character arc, but the episode never frames Jen as morally wrong for this selfishness. She suffers no negative consequences for it. There's no Uncle Ben moment. Perhaps it'll be explored in the rest of the show, but I think it's the job of episode 1 to clearly set this up. Hulk reiterates the importance of Jen controlling her anger.
I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or I might just literally get murdered.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
Hulk has spent over a decade learning to control his anger, while simultaneously being hunted by the US military, dealing with threats to the planet, and trying not to harm the innocent. How can Jen say she's more experienced at controlling her anger with a straight face? She's not stupid, she knows everything Hulk's been through. But the scene's directing implies we should take her seriously, which is silly. Catcalling? Really? That's your big example of how difficult your life is? You do realize you're talking to someone that's attempted suicide, right?
I didn't see an end, so I put a bullet in my mouth and the other guy spit it out.
Someone who's unwillingly killed people. Someone who's lost his closest friends. Someone who's had to make hard sacrifices for the greater good. There is no self-awareness on Jen's part, and she's never given a reality check. As far as the episode's concerned, she's right. Which is why it's even more bizarre that, spoiler alert, Jen is the one to lose her cool multiple times, not Hulk. Jen attempts to leave.
The idea of being a superhero is not appealing to me. I'm not you. I don't need to join some secret government contractor squad and have my entire life taken away from me.
My life wasn't taken away.
So you didn't wind up alone? With no friends, no relationships, never seeing your family, and definitely not dealing with a decade's worth of trauma?
Wow. Are the writers trying to make her despicable on purpose? Jen has zero empathy for what Hulk's been through, going so far as to mock him for ending up alone.
You're a cautionary tale.
That's the price you have to pay for keeping the world safe.
I am choosing to help people in the way that I've always wanted to.
Jen again dismisses the idea that she has any responsibility for the power she's been given. This seems to stem from a desire to keep her life just the way she likes it. She isn't interested in making any sacrifices for the sake of others. Hulk attempts to stop Jen from driving off, but gets thrown back, crashing into some rocks. Hulk could kill a Leviathan with a single punch, but somehow he's no match for a Jeep? Seriously? Their argument flares up and Jen attacks Hulk, starting a fight. Somehow, Jen is on par with Hulk's strength, despite getting a fraction of the gamma and being dramatically smaller than him. The episode doesn't want Jen to face the consequences for her harsh words, so she doesn't. If she were greatly weaker than Hulk, he could physically keep her at the safe house. Jen would then be forced to convincingly argue her perspective to Hulk, which would be incredibly difficult given that it comes from a place of selfishness and recklessness. The fight ends when they accidentally destroy Hulk's bar. Jen helps him rebuild it, and Hulk agrees to let her go.
So if you want to go back to your life as a lawyer, I respect that.
He doesn't mean that.
Jen breaks the fourth wall 3 times during the episode, 2 that are used to transition to it from the flashback, and then this one. I know it's from the comics, but so far the show hasn't justified it. We didn't need Jen to talk directly to the audience to transition to a flashback, and this fourth wall break is only for a half-assed joke. Also, because of how infrequently the episode uses it, I found it jarring every time it happened.
And I'm sorry that I said a bunch of harsh but very true things.
Jen acted like a complete cunt, not even bothering to give Hulk a proper apology, and there are no negative repercussions for this. She doesn't even have to deal with a soured relationship with her cousin. Even now, he's still willing to help her.
You know, I'm literally the only other person in the world that understands what you're going through.
I know.
So call me anytime.
Aside from a few tiny moments, Jen hasn't acted like she cares about him at all, yet she still receives the benefits of his friendship. She's basically rewarded for her terrible behavior. Back in the present,
Basically, I was right and Bruce was wrong.
this is to set up the next scene where Jen has to use She-Hulk. At first glance, you might think this is the episode admitting that Hulk was correct. It does seem to be saying that in some respect, Jen can't just ignore her Hulk half, but it's yet to be seen if Hulk will be vindicated in the many other good points he made.
These accidental deaths were an unfortunate byproduct of an ambitious expansion plan. Did my client know lives would be endangered? That is debatable and depends on your definition of knowing.
The hell kind of defense is that? He basically just said, my client is guilty, but, you should let him off because of semantics. I think this harms Jen's struggles. She boasts about working hard and progressing her career as a lawyer. But if this is her competition, her accomplishments aren't very impressive.
Don't screw this up, Walters.
Earlier, Jen mentioned incompetent men explaining her area of expertise to her. It's now obvious that Dennis was included as an example of such a man. This explains why he's such a cartoon. His only purpose is to embody this complaint. He's not a real character. Just like the defense Jen is up against, his inclusion makes it more difficult to take Jen's struggles seriously. They feel less serious and less real.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yeah! A superpowered lady bursts in and starts terrorizing the courtroom. I think. It's difficult to tell what she's trying to do. Jen is content to duck and cover like the others. Her friend Nikki actually has to pester her into using She-Hulk to help people.
God, I really like this outfit.
The idea of even slightly inconveniencing herself in order to save lives is apparently so fucking terrible. Jen easily stops the super bimbo in an awful action scene, and the episode ends with a cringy line.
I'm ready to give my closing argument now.
Bitch, the courtroom is destroyed. You're not giving any closing statement. Wow, this was worse than I expected. It's yet another Marvel property that flagrantly contradicts its previous world building and characters, either for the sake of comedy or as a result of lazy writing. I get the distinct impression that these writers don't actually like Hulk very much, trashing his lore and belittling his character. Jen is an insufferable protagonist. She's self-centered to a delusional degree, somehow thinking her mundane life is at all comparable to Hulk's extensive struggle. She's callous, treating Hulk terribly, and going so far as to mock his trauma and loneliness. She's also incredibly selfish, dismissing all of Hulk's advice and wisdom, insisting she always knows best despite Hulk's experience. And she's hypocritical, insisting that those with power must take responsibility for it and refusing to do so herself. I would have been fine with all of this had they been framed as character flaws, but they're not. She's meant to be in the right, and she suffers no negative consequences from her actions. Smart Hulk is made out to be an insecure idiot, one of those incompetent men trying to teach her things she's already an expert at. One of the few things I appreciated about Hulk in Endgame was the return of his confidence, but that's been stripped from him yet again. And on the topic of insecure men, it's difficult not to notice that every male character is portrayed as either stupid or malicious. It's a pretty shitty way to write people, and will undoubtedly alienate a large portion of the audience. The episode is in constant conflict with itself, insisting one thing while demonstrating the opposite. The women are supposed to be helpful, yet their actions are unhelpful. The men are supposed to be threatening, yet their actions are annoying at worst. Jen is supposed to be better at controlling her anger than Hulk is, yet she's the one to lash out violently. The episode is also ineffective at solving problems. It consistently throws in half-assed solutions to writing dilemmas. Yet this creates more issues that require yet more flimsy patches. What we end up with is a bunch of adhesive bandages slapped over a giant stab wound. It's laughable. Overall, She-Hulk Episode 1 feels like a show made by people who don't like Hulk and aren't very experienced with writing.
That sucks.
We begin in the aftermath of the previous episode's courtroom attack.
Superpowered influencer Titania caused panic while fleeing traffic court.
If she wanted to escape traffic court, why did she break into another courtroom and start wrestling a bunch of security guards? Why not just run out the exit? This is an issue because this event serves as the catalyst for the rest of the show's drama, and it was caused by Titania's nonsense actions. This, coupled with Episode 1's numerous contrivances, have thus far built this story on a foundation of sand. Jen and Nikki arrive at a bar that's celebrating She-Hulk. After some encouragement from Nikki, Jen enters in Hulk form to cheers and jubilation.
That name better not stick. It's so dumb. I can't even exist without being a derivative of the Hulk.
You got your powers from his blood. You are literally a derivative of Hulk. Is it so difficult to give him the smallest amount of credit?
It's so dumb. I can't even exist without being a derivative of the Hulk.
That's a pretty dumb name, too.
Marvel continues the annoying habit of ridiculing the names of its characters.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using made-up names. I'm Spider-Man then.
I'm Battlestar, John Spider-Man.
Battlestar? Stop the car!
What was your name again?
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Like a Garbaldegard? Hit a guy, hit it there.
The Mandarin. He gave his figurehead the name of a chicken dish.
It's like they're ashamed to be adapting superheroes. Dennis is briefly present so the writers can make him as comically stupid as possible.
But don't you think it's a little unsportsmanlike to suddenly debut superpowers just to drum up publicity for yourself?
Does he think she also set up Titania's attack? I know the writers want him to embody incompetent men, but he needs some base level of intelligence to be a lawyer, doesn't he? Jen gets free drinks because people think she's a superhero.
I did not go to law school and rack up 6 figures in student loans to become a vigilante that is for billionaires and narcissists and adult orphans.
This is an obvious swipe at Tony Stark. Jen makes it clear that she has no respect for the man who gave his life to save half of all life in the universe. Because she's a selfish bint. And really, Jen? A narcissist? Who's the one who thinks her personal life is more important than saving lives? Seems like you're projecting again.
But you could be an Avenger.
Do the Avengers offer healthcare?
I don't.
Maternity leave, a pension? Are they even paid?
Almost certainly. When he was alive, Tony took care of all expenses.
Lab's all set up, boss.
Oh, actually, he's the boss. I just pay for everything and design everything and make everyone look cooler.
And after his death, I imagine Pepper would want to continue this arrangement, to honor Tony's goal of keeping the world safe.
We're gonna be okay. You can rest now.
The writers have Jen disregard this possibility because it would solve all her problems, while also making her a superhero. They want this to be a lawyer show.
This fun lawyer show.
So they can't have a superhero career be viable. Therefore, they quickly dash this sensible idea. Also, Jen again displays her self-centered nature. When broaching the topic of the Avengers, a group dedicated to keeping the world safe, her concerns are all about how she would benefit from joining such a group. It has nothing to do with the good she could accomplish. Jen's boss has a word with her.
We didn't win the case. GLK&H had it declared a mistrial. Since you saved the lives of the entire jury today, GLK&H argued that the jury was then biased in your favor.
Well, what was I supposed to do?
You did the right thing, but it unraveled our case.
A mistrial doesn't mean the case is over. You can start again. Even switch out Jen for someone else at your law firm if you have to. Why is he acting like this means they lost?
I'm sorry, I have to let you go. This makes you a liability for the DA's office.
Jen gets fired and has difficulty finding another law firm that will take her.
We can't hire a lawyer who's such a big distraction in court.
We just can't take the risk of a sideshow.
Yeah, this wouldn't happen. She's basically being discriminated against because of a medical condition, one that, as far as anyone knows, wouldn't interfere with her ability to do her job. If Jen were a lawyer worth her salt, these firms would be facing some lawsuits. Jen is melancholy. She spoke highly of her career in episode 1, and it was her primary motivation for returning to her normal life, so losing it leaves her downcast. But this isn't exactly a compelling conflict. Jen continues to shun the responsibility of her power in favor of this selfish goal. Like last episode, the show fails to portray Jen as wrong for doing so. Jen has dinner with her family. Her lack of job is a sore point, yet when her relative Ched states he was promoted to manager at a Best Buy, everyone applauds. Given Jen's sour look and the way the episode paints Ched as incompetent,
I don't know what 4K is. This thing nobody does, but you still need it. Dude, I don't know what I'm doing down here.
Just keep turning.
I've turned it left, I've turned it right.
Drop it down,
Okay,
drop it down.
okay.
Yeah, good. I could have done that.
it's clear we're meant to look down on Ched's accomplishment, as if he's getting undeserved praise, which is pretty shitty. Managing a Best Buy might not be the grandest job in the world, but he's earned a promotion and his family is celebrating. Why is this treated like a joke? Like his achievement is invalid? As a whole, Jen's family is written to be absurdly socially inept.
You don't have to worry about getting fired. I already told everyone. No one's going to bring it up.
You got fired.
Manager, all right, Chad. Employed and promoted.
All of this is contrived to make Jen feel as miserable as possible. From what I've been told, the show is meant to be a comedy, which explains why everyone, outside of a select few characters, is portrayed as cartoonish and one-dimensional. This, however, makes it difficult to take Jen's struggles seriously. Her hardships continue to come off as contrived and lacking weight. During this torrent of nonsense, I caught this line. It's interesting that it's included in this cacophony of nonsense, as if to degrade yet another one of Hulk's accomplishments. Also, it was actually trillions of lives. He brought back half the universe, not just Earth. Jen's dad asks for her help with something and takes her to the garage.
That was just an excuse to check in with you. How you doing, kiddo?
It's refreshing. We finally have a male character that is written like a real person, as opposed to
This chick, pretty decent, turned into a Hulk, like a chick Hulk.
There's a hot chick over there. I'm gonna go talk to it.
Ugh. Jen is bummed that her power got revealed to everyone.
But I wasn't gonna just let those people get hurt.
No.
What kind of person would that make me?
But you were gonna let those people get hurt. It took Nikki's insistence for you to reluctantly turn into She-Hulk.
Come on, civic duty. Jen, come on. Oh, God, I really like this outfit.
It's like the writers realized what they had implied about Jen's character, and are now retroactively trying to make her a better person.
Maybe I should have just let those people get smushed by that desk.
This is clearly meant to be a joke in the context of the show, but Jen herself seems to be considering this genuinely, and thus it reflects very poorly on her character.
Sweetheart, it's gonna be okay. This isn't even the first time we've had to deal with a Hulk in the family.
What do you mean, deal with? As far as we know, you've never been a part of Bruce's life. Not until he became his merged self and his major struggles were already behind him.
And you didn't destroy a city.
Sheesh. Way to make light of the deaths of innocents. Did they have to throw Hulk under the bus just to boost Jen's ego? That's starting to become the show's go-to method of bolstering her. Rather than have her prove her virtues, it brings other characters low, so she seems more impressive by comparison.
The thing that you were dreading happened, but look, you're still standing. And now you get to keep moving on.
Jen's dad is portrayed as a supportive and level-headed character. Sort of. Despite how this scene depicts him, the previous scene had him contribute to the family's stupidity by saying,
Jen, that Hawkeye guy, what happens to those arrows of his? I mean, does he go around and collect them when he's done?
She stated she's not a superhero, and she's never been seen to work with the Avengers. Why would you think she knows the answer to this question? It's like the writers love that line so much they sacrificed his character to make him say it. Mr. Holloway from GLK&H, the defense team in episode 1's case, offers Jen a job.
Miss Walters, you laid out a winning case against us. Before I had it declared a mistrial, of course.
The show insists Jen is a great lawyer, though we've yet to see any substantial proof of this. So far it's been stated, but not shown. Jen accepts the offer.
More and more eccentric superhumans are coming out of the woodwork. We just started a superhuman law division, and I want the She-Hulk to be the face of it.
Seems a little late in the MCU timeline for something like this to just now be established. Holloway states that Jen must appear as She-Hulk at work, so she reluctantly transforms.
Oh my God!
Oh man, where did the budget go? Everyone stares, in awe of the terrible CGI. Jen laments being a diversity hire.
I am totally qualified, but now everyone around here is always gonna think this is the only reason I got the job. It's so unfair.
She does so by breaking the fourth wall again. This time, it serves more of a purpose, being used to convey her inner thoughts and feelings. It also serves to set up a joke.
But I'm curious, what do you think about it?
I'm agnostic.
Interesting. Unprecedented, for sure.
I'll spend the rest of the year worrying about what I just said.
It's an improvement from last episode, but it's still a little awkward. Again, she doesn't break the fourth wall often, making it jarring to me when she does.
Your first case is the parole of Emil Blonsky, also known as Abomination.
How did he get the name Abomination? Stearns was the one to christen him, but only Blonsky was there to hear it.
The mixture could be an abomination.
Jen doesn't want to take the case.
I'm sorry, but I can't represent him, sir. I have a serious conflict of interest. This man tried to kill my cousin, Bruce.
Mr. Blonsky is well aware of your familial connection and has signed a conflict waiver.
Such a waiver must include a workaround to the conflict of interest. How could they ensure Jen won't deliberately throw the case to punish the man that attacked her cousin? The episode doesn't bother to explain. The writers want Jen to be Blonsky's lawyer, and won't let a little thing like the law get in their way.
Mr. Blonsky is well aware of your familial connection. He would like to retain you specifically as his attorney.
Why would Blonsky specifically ask for an attorney that's biased against him? Are we meant to believe that Jen is just that good of a lawyer? Because we haven't seen anything to suggest she's that exceptional. Perhaps he has some other motive. Jen is told she either takes the case or doesn't have a job. She's encouraged to talk to Blonsky before rejecting the offer. Jen goes to a Department of Damage Control prison to speak with him. As far as I can tell, following the Battle of Harlem, Abomination was initially taken into custody by Ross and the US military. Otherwise, Tony wouldn't have gone to him to ask about Abomination. It appears he was later transferred to Damage Control's custody, where he's been since. I've always wondered whether Blonsky ended up in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s custody, and if he did, what happened to him post-Winter Soldier. I believe there were plans to have Abomination appear at the start of Age of Ultron, working for Hydra. That never solidified. Instead, it appears he's been safely locked up this entire time. Either way, I'm glad to finally get some clarification on where this guy's been. As Jen is let in, the deadliness of approaching Blonsky is made clear.
Although we have taken every precaution, we cannot guarantee your safety.
The danger expressed by the guard is bolstered by the Incredible Hulk. There, he was a giant monster that reveled in destruction and was capable of overpowering the Hulk. Jen interrupts with a joke.
So you gonna serve me up with some fava beans and a nice Chianti?
Ma'am, this is a prison.
Again, Jen is inclined to dismiss a dangerous situation, refusing to take anything seriously. However, by shutting her down, the scene maintains its serious tone and helps contribute to the buildup. We're reintroduced to Emil Blonsky.
Jennifer Waters. First off, namaste.
He's built up as a violent, dangerous criminal, only to be revealed with an affable demeanor. I think this subversion works. Though it's predictable, it's competently put together. However, if you've seen Shang-Chi, the illusion of Blonsky as a dangerous monster has already been spoiled, so none of this would have worked. It's confirmed that Blonsky can revert back into human form, something we didn't see in The Incredible Hulk. This makes sense though. He became the Abomination through Bruce's blood, therefore he would operate by the same rules. He claims to be reformed.
I've completely transformed myself, physically, obviously, but also spiritually.
He elaborates.
I'm simply Emil now, Russian-born, British-raised, Royal Marines Commando, on loan to the US government.
Emil Blonsky, born in Russia, raised in England, and on loan to SOCOM from the Royal Marines.
Why is Blonsky reciting dialogue from The Incredible Hulk he wasn't present to hear? Are the writers trying to prove they've seen the movie by lifting dialogue from it? This comes off incredibly awkward. Blonsky talks about his actions during The Incredible Hulk.
Your cousin, the Hulk, I tried to kill him. It wasn't personal or anything. I was under direct orders from your government.
That's actually not true. Blonsky's orders were to capture him alive.
This is the target and the location. Snatch and grab, live capture.
Trank him and bring him back.
And when Blonsky tried to kill Hulk, it was entirely personal. In fact, the mission had technically been completed at the time. Bruce had been captured. Blonsky then turned into Abomination and started wreaking havoc in Harlem to draw Hulk back out.
Give me a real fight.
And he did so to get the rematch he desired.
How do you feel?
Pissed off, I'm ready for round 3.
Jen points out.
But then you went on a destructive rampage. That wasn't sanctioned by the government.
Yeah, because they pumped me full of that super soldier serum.
The serum the government gave you caused your subsequent actions?
Blonsky kind of has a point. The serum was experimental, and it was implied it might affect his behavior.
We're giving you a very low dose only. Need you sharp out there and disciplined. First sign of any side effect, we stop and you're off team until you straighten out.
A deleted scene made this explicit.
One serum we developed was very promising, but it was unstable. It made subjects unstable.
But Blonsky did give his consent to take it, even knowing the possibility of side effects. But on the other hand, Ross never did remove Blonsky from the team like he promised to. This creates a gray area where it becomes unclear who should bear the fault. This has the potential for some interesting courtroom drama.
I was a highly decorated soldier. Sent on a mission to take out a threat. And I thought I was the good guy. I thought I was going to be, Captain Bloody America, something.
That wasn't really his motivation, though. Blonsky sought physical power over others. He was only meant to take part in the Brazil operation, but he insisted he remain on the mission to capture Bruce out of growing obsession with the Hulk's strength.
It's the most powerful thing I've ever seen. So if you're taking another crack at him, I want in.
He agreed to take the super soldier serum out of a longing for the days when he was younger and stronger.
You should be a colonel by now with your record.
Nah, I'm a fighter. I'll be one for as long as I can. If I could take what I know now, put it in the body I had 10 years ago, that would be someone I wouldn't want to fight.
I could probably arrange something like that.
And he made Stearns turn him into Abomination so he could prove he was stronger than the Hulk.
You've seen what he becomes, right? I want that. Need that. Make me that.
Is that all you've got? You don't deserve this power.
And outside of the Brazil mission, Blonsky knew the truth of Bruce's fugitive status.
Banner's work was very early phase. It wasn't even weapons application. But he was so sure of what he was onto that he tested it on himself. As far as I'm concerned, that man's whole body is property of the U.S. Army.
Bruce wasn't a threat. Ross just wanted to replicate the Hulk. Blonsky understood this, and he didn't care, because it wasn't about being a good guy or doing the right thing. He had his own selfish motivations. Jen says she'll consider representing him. Overall, this scene contains a lot of discrepancies with the events of The Incredible Hulk. But here's the thing, that might be intentional. I suspect that Blonsky is purposefully lying about what happened in order to appear more sympathetic to Jen and encourage her to take his case. We'll just have to wait and see if this was clever writing or yet more contradictions. Jen calls Smart Hulk.
I have to take on Emil Blonsky as a client, and I couldn't do that without talking to you first.
She rambles on, not letting him get a word in.
Blonsky did seem to have really good arguments, you know? He was so compelling, and maybe I want to believe that he's reformed.
Jen seems to believe that Blonsky's reformation is genuine. That, coupled with her desperation for a job, leads her to strongly want to take the case.
I think you're calling me to tell me you're taking the job.
I'm calling you to tell you I'm taking the job, yes.
I've got mixed feelings about this exchange. On one hand, Jen was considerate enough to tell Smart Hulk about the situation. On the other hand, she's basically already made up her mind and didn't actually want his input. We were so close to having Jen think of someone other than herself.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
Maybe next time.
Actually, Blonsky wrote me a really nice letter a while back, and a really heartfelt haiku, so we put everything behind us.
Really? I could understand Hulk eventually coming around to Blonsky being reformed, but a single letter was all it took for him to forgive the mass murderer? Despite Thor and Loki growing up together as brothers, Thor still needed several movies of development before buying that Loki had changed from the psycho murderer he once was. Hulk, on the other hand, has had no contact with Blonsky since the man murdered a bunch of people for sport. He then received one letter saying he was sorry, and now things are hunky-dory?
No, sir, I don't like it.
The writers aren't interested in exploring any more conflict with Jen and Hulk, so they've hand-waved it away with some out-of-character dialogue.
That fight was so many years ago, I'm a completely different person now. Literally.
This is a reference to how Hulk has become a merged entity, making him technically a different person. This is also a meta-reference to how the actor portraying Hulk has changed.
You coming to LA anytime soon?
Yeah, probably not for a minute. I got some things I gotta take care of.
Hulk flies off on the same ship that caused the car crash. Apparently he found it and received whatever message it was sent to deliver. Now he's presumably headed for Sakaar. This might be a way for the writers to get Hulk out of the narrative, so Jen will have to deal with the Blonsky situation on her own. Either way, I'm hoping we get some answers as to why it was here and what Hulk's up to. Jen accepts the case, but then turns on the news to see
shocking footage leaked showing the Abomination participating in what appears to be an underground fight club. Oh!
Fuck! The footage is from Shang-Chi, so it looks like we'll finally get an explanation for Abomination's strange presence in that movie. And that's the end. This episode wasn't good, but it was more bearable than the pilot. It suffered from all the same problems, but to a lesser degree. It's bad at solving problems, creating flimsy excuses to force Jen to represent Blonsky. It tends to portray male characters as comically dumb or malicious, though we now have Jen's dad and a couple side characters as exceptions to this rule. And the show still struggles with Jen and consequences. In episode 1, Jen acted entirely selfishly, and was basically rewarded for it. Here, she does something selfless for once, and gets punished for it.
And now I feel like I'm being punished for doing the right thing.
Punishing a character for doing the right thing can be an interesting test of moral character. How much are they willing to sacrifice to act morally? But Jen isn't forced to choose between her career and doing the right thing. After saving people once, she devotes all her time to getting another job. She's not concerned with being a hero at all. Reluctantly, she tried using her power responsibly, and it blew up in her face. And now she has no plans to try that again. So this conflict only serves to bolster Jen's selfishness, proving that she was right to act purely in her self-interest.
Maybe I should have just let those people get smushed.
The show has completely dropped any potential conflict with Jen controlling her power. Her transformations are so easy it hardly seems to require anger at all, and absolutely no one is concerned about her being a potential danger. This solidifies how much of a waste episode 1 was. Blonsky gets properly reintroduced to the MCU. His desire for Jen to represent him is puzzling, as are the blatant falsehoods in his recounting of previous events. It's possible that all of this will prove to be well thought out and deliberate. He does have motivation to lie, so for the moment I won't yet call them continuity errors, and I'm cautiously optimistic about where the show will take his character. Overall, She-Hulk Episode 2 has the same issues as the pilot, but less extreme, with a tiny crumb of potential.
How would you characterize Mr. Bukowski?
Self-absorbed. Maybe I should have just let those people get smushed. Chauvinistic, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me. Conceited, because I'm better than you?
Jen confronts Blonsky about his prison escape discovered last episode.
Who forced you to escape this insanely high-security prison undetected?
Undetected? How? Did nobody check the security tapes? Are there no cameras in the room? There's a little window on the door. Did no one look through it? Nikki contacts Wong through his LinkedIn. Why would a sorcerer need one of those? Until recently, their existence wasn't even common knowledge, so this information would be useless to almost everyone. Is Wong looking for a career change? The only reason Wong has a LinkedIn is because the episode needs a way for Jen to contact him. Otherwise, she would fail to help Blonsky. Also, the writers are lazy.
I know you can't wait to see Wong. I get it. I just want to make sure that you don't think this is one of those cameo every week type of shows. It's not. Well, except Bruce. And Blonsky. And Wong.
The show is using various cameos as a ploy to attract viewers, knowing that Jen's character, and the writing quality as a whole, are woefully inadequate. They're lampshading this as a way of trying to dismiss any criticisms for doing so. It's not working. We see random people on the internet complaining about She-Hulk, but their complaints are, a bit strange.
They took the Hulk's manhood away, but then they gave it to a woman?
So we have a Me Too movement and now all the male heroes.
I have no problem with female heroes. I'm just saying, make your own.
Why are they talking about She-Hulk like she's a fictional character? Their criticisms only make sense if they're directed towards writers making specific creative choices regarding the creation of a She-Hulk character and the treatment of other characters. In universe, this is utter nonsense. The writers clearly have a bone to pick with their own audience and have decided to clap back in this bizarre manner. They might as well have just shown real She-Hulk reviews.
I don't know about y'all, but I'd smash.
Speak for yourself, motherfucker!
There's an interview with the man that originally got Blonsky convicted.
First, I would like to say it is frankly appalling that anyone would work towards freeing a monster like the Abomination.
As a lawyer, wouldn't he understand that everyone is entitled to representation? And that lawyers often have to represent clients they don't necessarily like?
I don't care what anybody says about me. There's something in this country called due process. Emil deserves a fair hearing.
Since the pilot, Jen has been selfish and inconsiderate. This line would be the first indication she cares about a principle greater than herself. But is this genuine? Previously, Jen stated that those with great power have a responsibility to help others. Yet she completely shirked her responsibilities when she gained great power. Her personal desires superseded her moral principles. Would Jen hold this same sense of justice if she didn't believe Blonsky's reformation was genuine? Would she discard this moral value if it became inconvenient? After all, taking this case is what has landed her this prestigious job. Based on what I've seen so far, I don't have much faith in her. Dennis is being represented by a lawyer named Pug. He has been defrauded by a shape-shifting elf that tricked him into thinking he was dating a celebrity. This serves as the B-plot for the episode. A lot of the jokes boil down to, haha, isn't Dennis pathetic?
Sorry, you thought you were dating Megan Thee Stallion? Grammy Award winner megastar Megan Thee Stallion?
What part of Shapeshifter did you not get?
I'm so sorry.
Or, lol, isn't comic book stuff dumb?
Asgard is not a place, it is a people. Therefore,
Thor's inspirational speeches are not admissible in court.
I'm just gonna skip it because I couldn't care less. Wong appears.
Everything Mr. Blonsky told you is factual. I extracted him from the prison against his own wishes because I required a worthy opponent as part of my training to become Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, so Wong's stupid. Why did he choose Blonsky of all people to fight with? He has a plethora of options, including Smart-Hulk, his ally. Why go out of your way to choose a mass murderer currently locked up in a high-security prison? What if he seriously tries to kill you? What if he runs away to commit more atrocities? And why take him to an underground fight club? Why not set up something in Carmitage or some other private location? Is it because it then couldn't be caught on camera and used for drama in Blonsky's parole hearing? And Wong's story fits in weird with Shang-Chi. In that movie, they were friendly with one another, as if this was something they've done often.
Maybe you'll start controlling those punches like we practiced.
These don't sound like two guys who have just met. Jen explains how much trouble Blonsky's in for his prison escape.
I know what you're thinking, Miss Walters. And I'm not erasing everyone's memories, not again.
Why is he acting like Jen would have any context for what he's talking about?
We'll send him to the mirror dimension.
How would trapping Blonsky in the mirror dimension help his parole hearing to get him out of prison? What's up with Wong in this scene? He's acting like a total goober. Wasn't he a fairly stoic, level-headed guy?
Books on astral projection.
You're not ready for that.
Try me, Beyonce.
Wong agrees to explain everything at Blonsky's hearing.
We are here today to determine whether Emil Blonsky is suitable for return to society after having served his minimum sentence.
How long has Blonsky been in prison? Though The Incredible Hulk released in 2008, it technically takes place in 2011. Endgame is in 2023. I'm not certain when She-Hulk takes place, but I'd assume it's not too long after. That means Blonsky's minimum sentence for mass murder was little over 12 years. That doesn't sound right. To be honest, given the severity of his crime, I feel like Blonsky would be serving life in prison without parole, making this whole situation far-fetched. Jen calls several witnesses to testify on behalf of Blonsky's character in order to stall for Wong, who appears at just the exact moment Jen needs him to. Convenient.
In regard to Mr. Blonsky vacating his cell, I gave him no choice. It was absolutely his choice to return. I offered him asylum at Kamatage, but he was quite adamant he'd be returned to serve out his sentence and repay his debt to society.
They buy this, even though they can't confirm any of his claims and they don't even know if he's the man in the video. They don't question his story at all. They simply take it as fact because the writers can't figure out how else to resolve this conflict.
These are not the actions of a criminal, but of a reformed man who truly wants to do the right thing.
I mean, when Blonsky uncontrollably becomes Abomination, isn't he a raging monster out for blood?
That's a good question. Is Abomination an alter ego that Blonsky can't control? The Incredible Hulk implied Bruce and Hulk were the same person, so it was reasonable to assume Blonsky and Abomination were also the same. His dialogue was also in line with Blonsky's motivations.
Is that all you got?
Is that all you've got?
Giving further credence to this idea. Now though, Hulk has been reframed as another personality, so I suppose it would make sense to do the same for Abomination. On the other hand, Jen has no alter ego, despite gaining her powers through Bruce's blood, the same as he did. And Blonsky also had the complication of the super soldier serum affecting his Hulkification in unknown ways, so the rules may not be entirely the same for him. The show confirms that Abomination and Blonsky are one and the same, or at least that this has become the case. Blonsky transforms to prove that he has control and isn't a danger. Everyone shits themselves in terror.
As you can see, I'm in full control.
What happened to your voice, dude?
You don't deserve this power.
Did they change it to match Hulk's voice, which is no longer pitched down?
Puny god.
I don't want to lose Tiny here in the 1950s.
I can only assume they wanted to be consistent with this. But wouldn't the transformation literally change the shape of their vocal cords? How can their voices be unaffected? And on the topic of differences, I think it's time to talk about the Goomba in the room. Why has Abomination's design changed? The most distinct difference is his ears, which now look more comic accurate. Why though? It's clearly meant to be an in-universe change because in the previous episode, Blonsky said,
"My tiny ears here."
The previous design had tiny ears. His current design actually has quite large ears. So what gives? There's no explanation, not even a throwaway line.
This proves that in every instance, Mr. Blonsky could have broken free but has chosen to remain in his cell.
Is the implication that Blonsky could have used Abomination to break out at any time? We don't know that. Abomination didn't demonstrate that he could just break out of the glass, or that other measures put in place wouldn't be capable of holding him back. Where does this assumption come from? Jen makes the case that due to Blonsky's good behavior, he should be given the opportunity to rejoin society.
Mr. Wong, you've just admitted to facilitating a prisoner escape, which is a crime.
I must depart.
Bye, bitch!
With how sorcerers have become more public knowledge, why hasn't this supervillain prison put measures in place to keep them portaling in and out as they please? Do they simply not have the means? Because this would definitely be a large concern for them. Later, talking about the shape-shifting elf, Dennis says,
I wish there was a way we could remove her powers and make sure she doesn't victimize anyone else.
Oh, did Dennis Bukowski just give me an idea?
In the next scene, it's decided,
as a condition of his parole, Mr. Blonsky is ordered to wear an inhibitor in perpetuity.
Where did they get an inhibitor from? Hulk made one in the first episode, but...
That device was a prototype. It was calibrated specifically to me.
and now he's off planet. He also insisted he couldn't make another one.
Calibrate it to me.
Can't do it,
Yes,
Jen.
you can.
So where the hell did they get one from? Why was this inhibitor plot point included in the first place? Well, the implication is, Jen made this suggestion, and it's what convinced the parole board to grant Blonsky's parole. This is done to persuade us that Jen is a good lawyer, because otherwise her contribution to Blonsky's case would be minimal at best. I mean, without this suggestion, the only thing she did was call some witnesses to testify on Blonsky's behalf. She really didn't do much of anything. Blonsky's parole hearing doesn't build off of anything set up from the previous episode.
The serum the government gave you caused your subsequent actions?
This idea has been completely dropped. Jen doesn't argue whether Blonsky should be held accountable for those deaths that got him locked up in the first place. And Blonsky's blatant lies don't come into play either. There's no discussion of the events of the Incredible Hulk. The entire hearing is centered around Blonsky's behavior as a prisoner and hand-waving away his escapade in Shang-Chi. Unless this comes back, the potential of episode 2 has been squandered. Over the course of the episode, Jen is hounded by various rumors and gossip concerning She-Hulk, so she tells Blonsky,
Just stay out of the news. I don't want to read any more stories about either of us.
Well, you might want to reconsider that. I mean, they're going to write a story about you one way or the other. Better to be part of it, really.
This convinces Jen to do an interview, clearing away some of the rumors. I'm not sure why this convinces her, when Nikki, Jen's best friend, has been saying the exact same thing the whole episode.
You have to respond. You have to be in control of your own narrative. The office line has been flooded with calls and requests for interviews. You should do one.
People only care because I'm representing Emil Blonsky. Once that's over, this whole media circus will die down.
Jen, this is not gonna go away just because you're ignoring it. This can go away, you know, with one little interview. Hard pass.
I cannot wait for this to be over so I can go back to being a normal, anonymous lawyer.
What are you talking about? Jen, the genie is out of the bottle, girl. You are a story now.
What changed? As Jen walks home, she's attacked.
Did you guys rob an Asgardian construction worker?
Yeah.
Did they go all the way to New Asgard to get that shit? Jen hulks out and fights them. One of the guys tries to stab Jen with something, but she wrecks them easily and they run off.
Thunderball, did you get it? No. Once she turned into She-Hulk, I couldn't pierce that nasty green skin.
Why didn't they try jabbing her before she hulked out? They had the opportunity. Why hold back until it's too late? Again, those opposing Jen need to be made incompetent so she looks good by comparison. This might be Jen reflecting on Smart Hulk's warning from episode 1.
When you have powers like this, it's like putting a target on your back and the backs of all the people you care about.
I'm hoping this is the start of some introspection, and that Jen will realize that everything Hulk tried to tell her in episode 1 was correct. This could finally kickstart some much-needed character growth. Only time will tell. It's taken 3 episodes to get to the lawyering of the Fun Lawyer show, and so far I'm unimpressed. The show continues to fail to demonstrate that Jen's a good lawyer. She gets Blonsky's parole by calling a few witnesses and then pulling an inhibitor out of her ass. She does next to nothing of note. Really, anyone could have been put on this case and won. And all the setup from the previous episode, concerning Blonsky's true motivations, have come to nothing. All of that potential has been squandered, at least so far. Perhaps future episodes will pick up on this. Blonsky seems to be building a cult.
Mr. Blonsky does own a plot of land on which he plans to work and reside. He plans to open a meditation retreat on the property. Mr. Blonsky is currently in a long-term committed relationship with several pen pals, all of whom have pledged to financially support him.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Every day we stray further from God.
What
is that, Chinese? I'm not Chinese.
Episode 4 begins at Donnie Blaze's magic show. He uses a sling ring to open a portal, sending a volunteer to another dimension. She eventually makes her way to an annoyed Wong.
He sent me to a diff dimension, and a talking goat helped me escape a lava pit in exchange for 6 drops of my blood. Then I kind of browned out, and now I'm here.
And the show has already undercut its own conflict. If the victim of the negligent use of magic doesn't take the situation seriously, why should the audience? Every time Wong tries to stress the danger of tampering with these magical forces, no one reacts with any concern.
God, everybody loves Wong. It's like giving the show Twitter armor for a week.
Again, the show blatantly admits it has no faith in its writing. Jen's dad brings her some security equipment because of the incident at the end of last episode.
I don't need you to do any of this.
My daughter gets attacked by 4 men and I'm supposed to do nothing?
Your daughter's a Hulk. I'm gonna be fine.
What did the police say?
Police stuff.
You didn't call them? Are you serious, Jen?
I guess that smashes any hopes of introspection on Jen's part. Just like the pilot, she fails to take the dangers of being She-Hulk seriously. Instead, we get more character stagnation. Wong asks for Jen's help.
Donnie Blaze, former student of the mystic arts, but he was kicked out after a week when he summoned Freak Kegs and his fraternity brother Kai Dog to Kamatage.
I would think they'd be more selective about who they teach magic to, given the consequences of its misuse. Did Wong learn nothing from Caecilius and the Zealots? And why is he allowed to keep his sling ring? That's very irresponsible on Wong's part.
Donnie's been using our sacred teachings in his shows, sending volunteers into other realms for casual fun. Practicing the mystic arts without proper training not only endangers people, it risks untethering the material and astral planes. Set a precedent that no unlicensed persons ever attempt to practice the mystic arts again.
Why not just take away his sling ring? He doesn't seem to know any magic beyond that. You're definitely not above breaking the law for your own gain. Last episode, you admitted to kidnapping someone just to fulfill your training. And when asked to take legal accountability for these actions, you dipped without hesitation. Why are you bothering with this weird legal route? Well, because then the conflict would be over immediately, and there'd be no reason for Jen to be involved. The writers are struggling to cram these wacky scenarios into their legal show framework. Wong has nothing in writing to use against Donnie.
No judge is going to take this seriously unless we do things by the book.
Book of Ashanti.
You mean the Book of Sorcery? That's been destroyed. Did Wong hit his head? Jen agrees to help. Wong hands her a card with his contact info, except it's just his name and title. How is Jen meant to use this to contact him? Later.
Can I buy you sexy ladies a round of drinks?
Okay, sir, we're clearly in the middle of work here.
Why are you doing paperwork at a bar? Is this a normal thing?
See, that guy is exactly why I don't date.
There are plenty of non-gross people out there for you to date.
He just asked to buy you some drinks. Calm down. They discuss how Jen has set up a profile for a dating app. Later, she goes on a date with a guy made comically pathetic.
That's why I'm an entrepreneur.
Oh, in what field?
TBD.
Jeez. The lengths the show has to go to in order to make Jen appear the reasonable one.
Right. Thank you so much for the drinks.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey.
Is this a play on how men are expected to pay? But why did she reach for her wallet if she expected him to pay? I don't know what they're trying to communicate here. Wong and Jen go to court to put forth their case. Wait a fucking minute. In the last episode, it was established
You've just admitted to facilitating a prisoner escape, which is a crime.
Wong is now a criminal. How is he casually in a courtroom right now? Did he change his mind and wipe everyone's memories? Because that's the only explanation. The judge asks for a witness to corroborate their claims of gross negligence. Wong portals in Madison. That's not how that works. You need to get witnesses approved in advance. You can't just grab any random motherfucker and start asking them questions. Who is this? How do we even know she was the one at the magic show? After Madison testifies to being sent to another dimension, Jen and Wong argue that Donnie should be made to cease using magic. Donnie argues that this is his livelihood.
I have to agree with Mr. Blaze. He may continue to practice his livelihood pending my decision.
He sent someone to another dimension. Does she not believe Madison? If that's the case, shouldn't there be some kind of investigation to prove the truth? Why is everyone stupid? That's probably the most unrealistic thing in the show so far. She's a woman on a dating app. There's no way she has 0 matches. Jen makes a She-Hulk profile on the dating app. She gets a ton of matches and starts going on dates. At first, her dates are cartoonishly flawed, because of course they are. She eventually meets a handsome doctor that wins Jen over by playing into her self-absorbed nature.
I hate talking about myself. Tell me about you.
Oh.
They go back to her place, but are interrupted by Wong. Donnie accidentally opened a demon portal and needs help. Not sure why Wong jumped to She-Hulk for help with that. I feel like Doctor Strange, or any of the other sorcerers, would have been a smarter choice.
I have to repair the portal!
What do you mean repair it? What's broken about it? Wong just ends up closing the portal, which Donnie could have done at the start. We know he can close portals. Jen helps Wong throw the demons into another portal one by one. Eventually, Wong turns the portal into a vortex that sucks all the demons in. Any reason you couldn't have started with that? Feels like Jen was here for no reason.
Before I send my little friend here back to his own dimension, I was wondering if you would agree to the terms of our cease and desist.
Fine, okay, we agree.
Talk about unethical. Contracts signed under duress aren't valid, so this was useless and Jen's probably going to jail. Our hero, everybody. Jen portals back to her apartment and partakes in sexy time with her date. The next morning, she watches the news.
Supporters of the Free Titanium movement are celebrating the superpowered influencer has been cleared of all charges relating to an earlier incident at the Metropolitan Courthouse.
Cleared of all charges. She very obviously punched her way into another courtroom, attacked the security guards, and tried to kill the jury. She'd be in prison, and her public reputation would be ruined.
Who are you?
Jen. Just not in Hulk form.
That's cool. Unexpected.
I made breakfast.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Oh shit. Did Jen catfish this guy? Perhaps unintentional, but Jen lured this dude in because he thought he was dating She-Hulk, only for her to reveal herself as a different person the morning after. The next episode confirms this.
Would you have gone on the date if She-Hulk had instead presented as Jennifer Walters?
Look, I don't mean to be rude, but no.
She totally catfished him. Why is this becoming a trend? For some reason, the show frames it like he's the asshole for not accepting her. The next episode even doubles down.
Would you have gone on the date if She-Hulk had instead presented as Jennifer Walters?
No, she's not really my type. But She-Hulk's incredible.
What that extremely attractive man said in there, you can do better. You deserve better.
Bitch, no she can't, and no she don't. Jen learns she's being sued by Titania.
She's suing me over the name She-Hulk? But that's my name.
Not if she trademarked it first, right?
Why is Jen being sued? As far as we know, she hasn't used the name in any professional capacity, unless Jen's been selling merch off-screen. If a random guy went around personally calling himself Marvel, I doubt the company Marvel would have any grounds to sue him. Episode 5 begins with an ad for Titania's line of beauty products, which she's called She-Hulk. Jen is in denial, insisting she doesn't care about the use of her name when she obviously does.
I'm over it. I really am.
Holloway scolds Jen for this trademark nonsense.
GLK and H made She-Hulk the face of our superhuman law division. And now we find ourselves in the middle of a frivolous lawsuit. No one hires a firm that can't handle its own messes.
If the name She-Hulk was so important, why didn't Holloway have it trademarked as soon as he hired her? You're telling me neither of these lawyers considered this?
I am going to fix this, sir.
No, you won't.
Well, I'm surprised and relieved you aren't foolish enough to try to represent yourself. At least you know that basic rule.
Again, Jen proves herself to be an inept lawyer. Mallory further questions Jen.
Why didn't you trademark your own pseudonym?
I never even thought about it. Did Doctor Strange have to trademark his name? Did Thor?
You chose 2 examples of people who use their real names.
Tell Marvel that.
Let's bring the rainbow.
Was that a catchphrase or something?
She's only been a Thor for a minute.
Their plan is to countersue and prove that Jen used the name in a professional capacity before Titania trademarked it.
But if you're going to be my client, you need to dress like you respect yourself and not like a football player pleading no contest to a DUI.
Unbeknownst to Mallory, Nikki and Pug are already working on getting Jen a new suit, one that she doesn't get until after the lawsuit is dealt with. So this line ends up being redundant setup with no payoff. In court, Mallory makes the case that Jen was publicly associated with the name She-Hulk before it was trademarked, and that Titania was exploiting this to sell her product. The judge eventually says,
Can you prove a pattern of Miss Walters' personal use of the name?
What? I thought they needed to prove she used it professionally.
Countersue. Establish you were using the name She-Hulk in a professional capacity before the trademark date.
Why would personal use matter? If a random guy was calling himself Marvel before the company Marvel was established, you can't then sue Marvel, right? This idea is introduced purely to give Jen and Mallory a method of winning the case, because otherwise they would totally lose. Later, Jen discovers that Mallory is coincidentally representing one of the men she dated as She-Hulk. That's very convenient, since it's what makes her realize they can use her dating profile in her case.
You looked at that guy's dating profile and you were like,
Yeah, no, I'll give this man a couple precious hours of my life.
The show seems to understand that Jen is responsible for choosing the men she goes out with, so it's on her for choosing so poorly. However, the show simultaneously wants to argue that most guys are just like that. Jen's dating profile is used in court.
As you can see in the About Me section, my client wrote, mean, green, and straight poured into these jeans. And to answer the question, what are you looking for in a partner? A sturdy back and reinforced king-size bed. JK, JK, JK.
Okay, I'll give the show credit, that was funny. They interview her dates as further evidence. Jen is embarrassed, and it seems like she's finally facing some kind of negative consequences for her actions. However, this is just set up for commentary about men and dating. You see, after they win the case, they go to get drinks, and Mallory says,
Holloway could never have gone through that. He's never had to prove his value to a parade of underwhelming men.
right, he's probably had to prove his value to a parade of underwhelming women. Although I'm sure the show doesn't think those exist. And hey, if all you can attract are a series of underwhelming men, maybe that's because you're underwhelming. Something to consider.
You can have literal superpowers and some guy with an internet connection will still think he can do better.
Why would any guy care about superpowers when it comes to dating? Yes, she has laser vision, just the trait I was after in a wife. The show is determined to exonerate Jen of any responsibility for her terrible dating decisions. Afterwards, Jen picks up her new suit. We don't get to see it. What a satisfying use of a subplot. Episode 4 reflects poorly on Jen's moral character. The promise of introspection at the end of episode 3 gets discarded immediately. Jen then threatens to kill a guy if he doesn't sign a contract, while also catfishing another guy. All the while, she's painted as the hero and the one we should sympathize with. Wong is back, and he's dumber than ever. It's like the show's idea of comedy is just to make everyone really stupid. So previously intelligent characters now have single-digit IQs. Also, the show has ignored the previous episode, where the heroic Wong admitted to kidnapping someone for personal gain. Now he's working with Jen to file a lawsuit, and no one seems to care. The writers want to cherry-pick which continuity they adhere to and which they ignore. This results in a broken world with characters that don't act like themselves anymore. Episode 5 tries to convince us that Jen's poor dating decisions, and her inability to attract the men she wants, is not at all her fault. She's not the one with the problem, it's everyone else. She may be a selfish bint, but she deserves better. What a crock of shit. Over the course of these episodes, Jen acts immorally and irresponsibly, and not only does this usually benefit her, but her poor choices get validated by other characters. Any negative consequences she does face aren't her fault, so there's no need for any introspection or personal growth. The protagonist of the show continues to be the worst part of it. If you like the video so far, and you're interested in getting more out of the channel, you can become a member. Just hit join below. For $1, you get access to custom emojis and members-only polls. For $3, you get access to members-only videos and end-of-video shoutouts. So consider becoming a channel member today. I appreciate your support. Now back to the video.
An insurance claim after any of the ends of these.
In episode 6, Jen is invited to be a bridesmaid for her friend's wedding.
Yes, it's a self-contained wedding episode.
This is set up for subversion, as the episode will further develop multiple plot lines established in previous episodes, while also setting up things for the future, making it not at all self-contained. Jen wants to use this as an opportunity to show off, so she arrives as She-Hulk, receiving much awe and praise. Lulu, the bride, takes her aside and says,
I can't believe you're doing this to me. Taking all the attention away from me with your...
All eyes are gonna be on you. It's your big day.
I know it's my big day. I don't want you to be all hulky at my wedding.
The episode is about the conflict between Jen's selfish desire to show off and Lulu's desire to be the center of attention at her own wedding. In a well-written show, the resolution would involve Jen learning humility and putting aside her vacuous wants for the sake of her friend's big day.
Not everything is about you, Jennifer.
She would finally grow as a character. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Jen came to the wedding not to support her friend and her relationship, but to show her up and inflate her ego.
Yes, it's a self-contained wedding episode, but I'm gonna look great, so let's go.
Yeah, obviously this is the one time I didn't want to show up as just Jen.
I just wanted to come to one wedding and show that I was actually doing pretty good.
Yet the show wants the audience to root for her. So the writers do everything they can to paint Lulu as the unreasonable asshole and Jen as the put-upon heroine who can't catch a break.
Are you dating a guy? A boy? Is there a boy in your life?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, you'll find someone. Don't feel bad.
Oh, I don't feel bad.
That's right. You know what, you still have a little bit of time. Half the event staff is quitting because of how I'm treating them. Do you think you could help me clean some stuff up around here, straighten up, take up some of these empties, tidy up?
So everyone's coupled up. Do I not have a groomsman?
No, you're gonna be walking with Jonathan. He's gonna be at the ceremony tomorrow. Jen, your groomsman is here. He's here, Jonathan is here. He's so brave. We just had to resuscitate him this morning.
Of course.
Be careful, he leaks
Just a little.
were meant to support Jen's endeavor despite it being the epitome of vapid. Jen is shocked when Titania appears.
Titania.
Hey, girl. Hey.
You made it. You're so busy, though. You have like 5,000 businesses.
I thought you didn't want to be upstaged at your own wedding. Why would you be okay with Titania but not She-Hulk? The writers have created this contradiction because they want to maintain the conflict between Jen and Lulu, while also setting up a battle with Titania for later in the episode. Frustrated, Jen sits outside eating candy and hits it off with a guy named Josh. A day or so later, the party is in full swing. Because she can't show off, Jen opts to get hammered.
Everyone is always so saying about how She-Hulk is amazing. They're always saying, I just want to be amazing tonight.
I think you're pretty great.
What is this opinion based on? You saw her stuff her face with candy, get drunk, then whine about how amazing her life is. What do you see that's so great? This line only works because the next episode reveals Josh was lying through his teeth. Jen has to rush outside to vomit, and Josh just disappears. Probably because the show wants a secluded confrontation between Jen and Titania. How is Jen's face not caved in? Despite being the Hulk, Bruce was still susceptible to injury while in human form. And why didn't this trigger a Hulk out? You're telling me she managed to remain 100% calm when the superpowered lady suddenly clobbered her in the face?
I literally said this isn't over. So now I am going to publicly destroy you. Oh.
How does beating up Jen help you? She-Hulk is well liked, so attacking her isn't going to score you any points in the public eye. Also, you're risking another arrest for assault. Although, if I got off scot-free after attempted murder, I guess I'd feel untouchable too. Wait, how does no one already see this? A lady is getting kicked around a couple feet from a crowded room. Is everyone deaf and blind?
You do not get to ruin everything for me for something that you don't even want, something you don't even deserve. So now I am forced to prove it.
What the hell is this bitch talking about? Jen stopped Titania from murdering a bunch of innocent people. As a result, Titania swore vengeance upon her. Did she want to kill those people that bad?
Oh no, I forgot how to do it.
What? The show has completely given up on consistency regarding her powers. Jen eventually hulks out and demonstrates how little regard she has for others' safety. She smashes the ground so Titania gets flung directly into the wedding guests. And then she punches her so she slams right into a waiter. All the while, Jen doesn't show the least bit of concern. Why is there triumphant superhero music? She's not there to save anyone. In fact, her presence puts them in more danger. That's better.
My veneers.
How did a simple fall do that when a Hulk punch didn't? Titania runs off in humiliation. Lulu enters.
Oh my god.
She-Hulk is at my wedding. I love you so much. I'm a fan.
What? This is a total 180 from her beliefs at the start of the episode. She's had a convenient change of heart, so Jen doesn't have to suffer any consequences for breaking her promise. She now gets exactly what she wanted without having to work for it. In the episode's B-plot, Mallory takes on a divorce case for a man called Mr. Immortal. He's been married many times and fakes his death whenever he wants to separate. His past has caught up to him, and several of his spouses are trying to get financial compensation from him. Mallory and Nikki prove to be awful at their jobs, explicitly acting against their clients' interests.
No, you just don't know how to have any sort of confrontation whatsoever.
I thought that lawyers were supposed to not be judgmental.
No.
I will get you the best possible deal, but let me tell you this. You're gonna have to pay.
Why are you smiling?
It's kind of fun.
Amy, you are going to receive a sincere apology with the meaningful eye contact. Lasting at least 15 seconds. Oh.
Is that the absolute best you can do on eye contact?
And so, Amy, that's 20 seconds of eye contact. And remember, everyone, what's our mantra? Never again.
If he wanted to, Mr. Immortal could get them on the hook for malpractice, but he doesn't. He doesn't even consider getting a new lawyer when the current one drove him to jump out a window. And the writers continue to prove they know nothing about law. They meet up with Mr. Immortal's spouses to hash out an agreement in an afternoon. It definitely doesn't work like that. You don't just get a dozen conflicting parties in a room and reach a divorce settlement in a few hours. None of them even have their lawyers present. Almost nothing about Mr. Immortal makes sense.
Instead of having a conversation with your wife, you kill yourself to get out of the relationship.
Whoa. Why would someone like that continue to get married? What does he gain?
I just don't understand why anyone not afraid of conflict keeps getting married.
And now the show is criticizing itself. Acknowledging a writing flaw doesn't make the flaw go away. No one addresses the obvious bombshell. There exists a man who is immortal. Do you understand what this does to the world building? The MCU is forever changed. Who is this guy? Where does he come from? Why isn't he being questioned or studied? He possesses the secrets of eternal life.
Now we will live forever.
On the topic of his power, it actually plays no significant role in the conflict. He could be a normal guy and nothing changes. Either way, he has to fake his death and forge a new identity.
Not only did you fake your own death multiple times, you also forged multiple fake identities.
The writers aren't creative enough to play off his power in any other way, making it a pointless aspect of the story. At the end of the episode, Mallory and Nikki discover an internet forum dedicated to hating She-Hulk. They scroll through a bunch of memes, created by people who only yesterday learned what a meme is. When you Hulk, but you still dumb. That doesn't even make sense. Wouldn't the stereotype be that becoming a Hulk makes you dumber? What are these? What's the joke? If you needed any more evidence that these writers are out of touch.
Lulu, Team Edward or Jacob?
Mixed in with the memes are death threats. One claims that She-Hulk hates men. Given the very limited public appearances she's made, I don't understand how anyone in-universe could have come to that conclusion. Nikki tells Jen about the website.
It's called Intelligentsia, and it's all of these like memes and death threats.
The show's jumbled together memes and death threats in this blatant attempt to conflate the two. But why? You see, memes are often used to ridicule poor writing, so it's certain that the show's detractors partake in a meme or two. The writers are attempting to slander their critics as violent misogynists. It also demonstrates how ignorant the writers are. Memes are a universal method of spreading humor and ideas. The show's critics use memes, but so do the show's supporters. Everybody loves memes.
21.
Yet the writers seem to think only hateful idiots use them.
My friend sent me a link to a video posted on that site, Intelligentsia.
The one for hateful man babies?
Episode 7 begins with Jen and Josh having fun going on dates. This culminates in coitus, after which Josh vanishes and doesn't return Jen's texts. She obsessively waits for a reply. A few days later, Blonsky's parole officer calls. Blonsky's inhibitor has malfunctioned, so he needs to investigate.
We don't have the resources for a squad of uniforms to go with me, so I was hoping you'd meet me there.
In case the abomination decides not to cooperate. Yeah.
The writers need to get Jen to Blonsky's meditation retreat, and this is the weak sauce excuse they've created to do so. Seriously, there's no one available to go check on the abomination? The extremely dangerous rage monster that just got parole. Nope, not buying it. Jen meets him at Blonsky's meditation retreat. The parole officer checks on the inhibitor. It's working now and likely malfunctioned due to a jolt from an electric fence. He leaves, but before Jen can depart, her car gets damaged during a tussle between two of Blonsky's guests. Stuck there until the tow truck arrives in the afternoon, Jen goes in search of cell service, so she can continue to watch for Josh's reply. She eventually finds a signal at Blonsky's group therapy cabin. Hung on the walls are inspiring quotes such as, "Today is today." Brilliant. After a few minutes, a man enters, Wrecker. He's the same guy that jumped Jen in episode 3. She immediately hulks out and attacks him.
Jennifer, darling, I'm gonna need you to sit in the calming chair right now.
Fine. As soon as I'm out of there, I'm gonna rip this guy to shreds.
Jeez, Jen. I know he previously attacked you, but right now he's a defenseless human cowering beneath a superpowered Hulk. This isn't self-defense, it's murder. As a lawyer, you should understand the difference. If you're so adamant about punishing him, why not call the police? At Blonsky and Wrecker's insistence, she hears him out.
I didn't need a magic crowbar to give me a false sense of power. All it did was make me and my boys act like idiots, rolling up on you like we were some supervillains.
Oh, you attacked a woman 4-1. You absolutely were super villains.
Since becoming a Hulk, Jen has consistently downplayed dangerous situations, not taking any threats to her person seriously. Earlier in this very episode, she said,
I don't care what a bunch of losers say about me online. Can't even say it to my face because they know they get Hulk smashed.
But here she makes it sound like she was a defenseless damsel at the mercy of 4 supervillains. In case you forgot, this was her reaction at the time.
All right, let's do this.
When given the opportunity to enact revenge, suddenly she's very concerned about her safety.
And I take radical accountability for my actions.
If he wants to take accountability, why not turn himself into the police? The others admonish Jen for flying into a rage and attacking someone unprovoked. Blonsky points out Jen's obsession with her phone and encourages her to talk about her issues.
You know in high school, that friend that you have that's like cooler than you are, like more attractive and athletic? Hello. You think life would be so much easier if I were that person. And I can turn into that person anytime I want to. And everyone pays attention when I'm this. It feels like cheating because would they like me if I didn't have all of this? Would the same guys who like She-Hulk stick around for Jen?
She's frustrated that people prefer She-Hulk over regular Jen. What's interesting is that Jen could be She-Hulk virtually all the time. She specifically chooses not to. Despite everything being better as She-Hulk, the thought of becoming a Perma-Hulk doesn't even cross her mind.
Would the same guys who like She-Hulk stick around for Jen? Because some of them don't. And that sucks for Jen because Jen is great. And no one cares when they're She-Hulk.
Here's the issue. Jen isn't great. She's selfish, judgmental, and immoral. The difference between Jen and She-Hulk is just physical. There's no meaningful difference in personality. This means that She-Hulk's popularity is purely based on how attractive she is, and how impressive her superpowers are. These traits distract people from her awful personality. In a good show, this would lead into a huge revelation for Jen, inspiring her to work on herself as a person. However, it doesn't work out that way.
Screw this guy. Where does he live?
Let's kill him. That's right, he's gotta die.
Josh has made an enemy of this entire group.
Maybe this Josh thing hurt so much because you haven't been spending enough time with Jen.
And that's a shame, because I bet Jen is pretty damn great.
Despite barely knowing her, they're quick to inflate her ego. Ironically, her large ego is exactly the source of her problems. They're unknowingly making the situation worse. Yet the episode treats this like some great accomplishment.
Just maybe this Josh isn't the only guy who likes Jen Walters. Maybe there's a group of guys right here who would love to spend time with Jen right now.
Do you believe that this group genuinely values the whole of you?
I do.
Y'all just met her. What are you talking about?
Maybe you can stop using She-Hulk as a protective shield and trust us with Jen.
Jen reverts back into human form, and it's treated like a big moment of character growth. But it's not. For most of the show's runtime, she's preferred to be Jen over She-Hulk. She's never used She-Hulk as a metaphorical shield. Where's this coming from? The group convinces Jen to delete Josh's number, and she leaves feeling uplifted. We cut to 3 days earlier, where it's revealed that Josh is a part of Intelligentsia.
What a fucking bastard!
Wait, if Intelligentia's goal is to kill She-Hulk, why didn't Josh just shoot her in the back of the head while she's asleep? Perhaps they have a secret agenda? There's a considerable amount of confusion surrounding Wrecker and Blonsky. Wrecker appears to have put all hate towards She-Hulk behind him, yet he doesn't try to warn her about Intelligentsia. Why keep that a secret? Is he only pretending? He doesn't react to Jen's presence like that's the case.
Oh, hey!
The show has yet to address everything set up with Blonsky in episode 2. Why did he specifically want Jen to represent him? Why did he lie about the events of the Incredible Hulk? If this episode is to be believed, Blonsky's reformation is genuine. The ruthless, power-hungry fighter has become a peaceful, spiritually enlightened counselor. That's absurd, especially since we get no information on how this radical transformation occurred. Is it possible he's putting up a front? Maybe, but it's unclear what his end goal would be. Is he working with Intelligentsia? Maybe he's teamed up with Wrecker. At the moment, there's simply no evidence or motive for this. There's still a chance episode 2 wasn't pointless, but the odds aren't looking good. The show continues to reinforce Jen's terrible behavior, rewarding her selfishness and validating her inflated ego. I have a hard time understanding how anyone would think she's at all likable or compelling. And the other characters don't fare much better. Mallory and Nikki have joined the morally bankrupt club, screwing over their own client out of petty bias. Both episodes build up the big bad of the season, internet memers. Because there's nothing more intimidating. I guess if you're responsible for this kind of poor writing, you would be terrified of memes. The writers are so insecure in their abilities, they've painted their critics as the villains of the show. I don't know if I've ever seen something so pathetic.
Are you like a superhero?
I'm Daredevil.
Before the episode begins proper, we're reminded of this exchange.
I'm not gonna be a superhero.
What else are you gonna do as a Hulk?
Followed by a montage of She-Hulk fucking around.
Work, 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 let's work.
We're reminded of Jen's refusal to take responsibility for her power, as set up for character growth later in the episode. But at the same time, the show glorifies Jen's past horrible behavior. They want her to grow, but don't want to admit she was a shit person to begin with. They want to have their cake and eat it too. And as we'll see, there are all sorts of issues and complications regarding her growth in this episode. A superhero named Leapfrog goes to Jen for legal aid after he was burned by his defective suit.
Next thing I know, my inflammable suit with a 900-degree threshold is on fire.
Oh, then why are you complaining? If the suit was intended to be inflammable, then I guess it did its job, right? He wants compensation from the suit's maker, Luke Jacobson, who happens to be Jen's tailor. Sensing a conflict of interest, Jen goes to Holloway to have the case assigned to someone else.
Patilio is one of our biggest clients. It's very important that we keep the Patilios happy. Eugene is also very excited to have a Hulk on the case. They're willing to sign a conflict waiver.
But I believe I would be ethically compromised in representing a client against Jacobson.
You've handled a client who had to sign a conflict waiver before, in a case, one would argue, is a lot more personal than this one.
Both characters are being dum-dums. Jen is being stupid because she's admittedly more compromised going to court against her tailor, as opposed to representing the mass murderer that tried to kill her cousin. Again, the show tries to dismiss Jen's shittiness with a joke. Holloway is being an idiot because, despite her selfish motivation, Jen has made it plain that she can't pursue this case without bias. The client may be unhappy that he can't work with She-Hulk, but won't he be more unhappy if he loses the case due to Jen's conflict of interest? And that's not even mentioning the potential legal issues. As a compromise, Holloway says,
I suggest that you try to come to an agreement with Mr. Jacobson so then a filing would not be necessary.
But that doesn't solve the issue. She still has a conflict of interest. I mean, Jacobson is currently making Jen a dress for an upcoming gala. You think that won't affect her ability to come to an agreement? Jen goes to Jacobson and says if he takes some accountability for the malfunction, there won't have to be a lawsuit. Jacobson throws a childish tantrum, tears up Jen's dress, and tells her to fuck off forever. Being a child herself, Jen responds,
Now, I am gonna take you down.
He faces her in court, represented by Matt Murdock. Jen has put forward a motion to get Jacobson's list of clients. Matt argues against this, given that his clients are superheroes, anonymity is paramount.
May I remind you that the Sokovia courts have been repealed.
Since when? As far as we know, they are being enforced as recently as WandaVision. What changed? The show has casually upended a major facet of the MCU's world building. An entire film was dedicated to the turmoil around the Accords, and another set of films were the result of its implementation. And now they've been swept away with a single throwaway line. They've done so because the Accords require superheroes to register and reveal their identities to the government. If that were the case, there'd be no reason to hide Jacobson's client list. Matt argues his point well, convincing the judge to deny Jen's motion.
Mr. Patilio, what kind of fuel did you use in your boosters?
Jet fuel. That's not what my instructions said.
What?
You surprise me to how shit you are.
Oh, thank you.
Apparently, Jen didn't do the bare minimum of research, asking Leapfrog if he used the product as instructed.
You used jet fuel in your boosters? Because that's not what my instructions said.
What?
No, I didn't.
He's lying. Don't ask me how I know, I just know.
Come on, man. Doesn't feel like you're taking the whole secret identity thing very seriously. Jacobson is absolved of liability, and the case is dismissed. Matt comes off as an intelligent lawyer, but is this because he's genuinely written as an exceptional lawyer? Or is it only in juxtaposition does he seem exceptional? Nearly every other lawyer in the show is borderline retarded.
These accidental deaths were an unfortunate byproduct of an ambitious expansion plan. Did my client know lives would be endangered? That is debatable and depends on your definition of knowing.
I'd like to move for dismissal of all charges against my client. Runa is the daughter of an elfin diplomat on Asgard and now in New Asgard. She has diplomatic immunity.
She may have diplomatic immunity in New Asgard, but we are not in New Asgard.
Donnie's performance is a fun and spooky experience, which is the sweet spot for magic, in my professional opinion.
By comparison, someone who knows even the basics of law comes off as a genius. The reason Matt wins the case is due to Leapfrog and Jen's incompetence, rather than him doing anything particularly impressive. This is similar to how the writers elevate Jen by bringing low everyone around her. It's like their writing skills hit a low ceiling, so they have to scale down everyone's intelligence for smart characters to come off as such. I'll at least commend them for their effort. Afterwards, Matt buys Jen a drink and they hit it off.
Luke Jacobson made a couple of new suits for me, so I owed him one.
Doesn't really look like it.
It's a low blow insulting a blind man's clothes. I'm wearing pants, right?
Props to the actors. I feel genuine chemistry between them. The show, however, is so insecure in its ability to portray this, it directly tells the audience what they're meant to get from these interactions.
We're all feeling this, right? It's not just me. This guy's really kind of doing it for me.
A more confident show would have let the scene speak for itself.
You know the expression, one for them, one for us?
As someone who works for them full time, I really don't have any gas in the tank for anything else.
You say that, but I think you're in a unique position to do some real good. Jen Walters can use the law to help people when society fails them. She-Hulk can help people when the law fails them. Or you can if you choose.
Be the best of both worlds.
Jen considers Matt's suggestion, which is interesting. This is similar, but not quite the same, as what Smart Hulk told Jen in the pilot.
I'm not gonna be a superhero.
What else you gonna do as a Hulk?
Return to my career.
It's not one or the other, Jen. We can live between what we want and what is. But we can't pretend like we aren't two of the few people on Earth that can actually protect her.
Hulk was referring to global threats, the sort of things the Avengers tackle. Matt is referring to street-level threats, petty crime and the like. This touches upon a point of confusion. Is being a vigilante legal? Big names like the Avengers have usually been permitted to operate as they deem fit, but it's been a different story for street-level heroes.
What are you doing, Matt? You're a lawyer. You're supposed to be helping people. In a mask. Do you know what they call that? A vigilante. Someone who acts outside of the law.
Has this changed? In this episode, Leapfrog has no qualms about publicly declaring himself a superhero, and no one tries to arrest him for it. And Matt doesn't allude to any issues of legality. He wants Jacobson's clients to remain anonymous to protect their loved ones, not because what they do is illegal. So I guess it's safe to say being a vigilante is a-okay? This is something I wish the show would clarify. Phase 4 has been particularly shit when it comes to world building. I mean, the show has yet to even mention the blip, which would have had a drastic impact on the US legal system. Moving past the question of legality, why does Jen consider Matt's advice when she dismissed Smart Hulks out of hand? Objectively, it's more important to combat planetary threats than street crime. Logically, if she was hesitant to be a hero, wouldn't the former be stronger encouragement than the latter? The stakes are much higher. Well, street crime is directly related to her career. As we saw in the pilot, Jen's career is the most important thing in her life. Becoming a street-level hero could directly benefit this, helping clients outside of the courtroom when she can no longer help them within. This motivation is backed up by Jen's consistently selfish behavior, aside from using it as an excuse to shirk her responsibilities.
It's not wrong that I am choosing to help people in the way that I've always wanted to.
She hasn't been at all interested in helping people. If she actually cared, she could have been fighting crime this whole time, but she's chosen not to. It's because it's never been about helping others. It's about how becoming a superhero would benefit her personally.
But you could be an Avenger.
Do the Avengers offer healthcare?
I don't.
Maternity leave, a pension? Are they even paid?
Later, Jen gets a call from Leapfrog. He's being attacked and needs her help. Inspired by Matt's advice, Jen shows up in the suit she got in episode 5. And it's incredibly underwhelming. Is that what all the hype was about? Looks like some generic gym clothes. She-Hulk confronts Leapfrog's attacker, Daredevil. They get into a fight, during which Jen causes copious amounts of unnecessary property damage. Jesus, Jen. He's a ninja with a couple sticks. You can't stop him without destroying a whole parking garage? What if someone's in there? At one point, she flings a car at him, rather than just, running after him. She's a Hulk. She's definitely faster than him. She's not only needlessly wrecked someone's car, but she could have easily killed him. Hulk has damaged property during battles in the past, but it was against foes like Abomination, a rampaging monster more powerful than himself. Also, at the time, Hulk didn't understand what lightning and thunder was, let alone the concept of collateral damage. Jen has no such excuse. She just doesn't care.
You ever destroyed a parking lot before?
Oh crap, I'll go leave a note.
Jen uses her sonic clap to disorient Daredevil. She unmasks him, revealing Matt Murdock.
Leapfrog is the bad guy here. He kidnapped Luke Jacobson.
Why didn't you tell me that before we fought?
Why didn't you ask me before immediately trying to whip my ass?
No, she's right. It would have taken 2 seconds to say he kidnapped someone, and that would have cut short this whole escapade. They go to Leapfrog's base, where he's forcing Jacobson to make him a new suit, because despite being super rich
parents,
he apparently can't just hire a different tailor.
You can hear their heartbeats? Come on, that's a little far-fetched.
Says the one who turns into a giant green indestructible lady. Given the insanity of the world she lives in, why does Jen find this far-fetched? They argue about whether to infiltrate stealthily or to simply barge in. Daredevil opts to sneak in and confronts a bunch of goons in a hallway. For some reason, they're using crossbows instead of guns, which is very considerate of them as it makes Daredevil's job a lot easier. He fights them off in what is evidently a homage to the famous hallway scene from his series. But unlike that fight, Daredevil just allows one of the goons to call for backup.
Tadpole 5, come in.
Waiting back up at the rear entrance.
Tadpole 5, repeat. Hang tight. Backup's on the way.
Dude, why didn't you stop him? Because the scene needs more enemies so She-Hulk can make her grand entrance. When and where Jen knew to crash through the ceiling, no one knows. They confront Leapfrog, completely destroying the element of surprise. The reason Daredevil was smart to use stealth was because Leapfrog has a hostage. Jacobson could have been injured in the crossfire of a big fight, and Leapfrog might have threatened to hurt him to facilitate an escape. Regardless, Jen barges in recklessly because she's an idiot. And Daredevil goes along with this because, well, I'm not sure why. It contradicts his methods in favor of a plan he stated himself was half-baked.
Stealth's the way to go, okay? Trust me, I've done this a million times. Just remind me again how many times you've broken into a warehouse full of goons. Just let me do my thing.
Yeah, and I will do my thing.
You don't have a thing. You don't ever do this.
I guess their lucky Leapfrog just lets them rescue Jacobson.
Miss Walters, what are you doing? You're supposed to be helping me.
You stupid idiot! Why would Leapfrog call his lawyer to help him commit a crime? Why would he think she'd go along with this? Also, for a dude who recently got horribly injured, he's walking around just fine.
I have third-degree burns all over my legs.
During the fight, Daredevil starts talking law.
We could say this is an episode of Mania.
Temporary insanity is murky, but it's not a bad strategy.
I angle this more as a form of traumatic expression due to undiagnosed PTSD.
So the devil ninja guy, he's a lawyer?
No, I'm just a big fan of legal dramas.
Because I guess he's willing to risk his secret identity to be funny.
I made a funny!
Leapfrog jumps out the window to escape and breaks his legs. After the police arrive, Jen talks to Jacobson. He's forgiven her and will make her dress for the gala. This plotline feels like a missed opportunity. Imagine if Leapfrog wasn't a villain, and his suit had actually malfunctioned through no fault of his own. Jen would be forced to navigate 2 conflicting desires. Her desire to maintain her relationship with Jacobson, and her desire to enforce justice. It would test Jen's moral character, and creatively utilize the show's unique concept. Yet we get no such luck, and the conflict is resolved without Jen having to make any tough choices. Jen and Daredevil talk some more. They go back to her place to bone. The next morning, he departs. In full costume. In broad daylight. This character was supposed to have common sense, right?
It's weird you guys are still here. Doesn't it feel like this episode should be over? Seriously, what is this scene? This episode already came to a very satisfying conclusion. Wait, we're doing the gala? That doesn't feel right. Is next episode the finale? Oh, just like a tacked on set piece near the end of the season? This is the big twist, isn't it?
The show thinks acknowledging basic story structure somehow equates to comedy.
Connecting the A and B story? Nice.
The fact that the writers think this is impressive is sad. At the gala, the Female Lawyer of the Year award is given to several people, including Jen and Mallory, 2 objectively terrible lawyers. As Jen gives her acceptance speech, Intelligentsia takes control of the screen.
Do you want to see who She-Hulk really is? This is the truth, presented by Intelligentsia. She-Hulk does not deserve your attention. She does not deserve your praise.
They display various bits of info extracted from Jen's phone. Her dating app matches, her screensaver of Cap's ass, her dating profile, her bank info, her texts with Josh, and various bills. I'm not sure how any of this is supposed to make people turn against She-Hulk, especially without any context.
She does not deserve the power she stole from the Hulk.
Oh my god, can somebody cut this off?
She's not good enough to be a superhero, and she's a slut.
This is followed by a sex tape secretly recorded by Josh. Jen gets so enraged, she punches and tears down the screen, causing much damage and mass panic. An interesting reaction from someone who's apparently more skilled at controlling her anger than the Hulk. What was Intelligentsia's plan? Obviously, doxing Jen, calling her a slut, and leaking our sex tape, one made without her knowledge, isn't going to turn the public against her. If anything, this will embolden people against Intelligentsia. Therefore, Jen's freakout must be what they're after. But that would mean if Jen hadn't lashed out in anger, their plans would have been ruined. Jen has shown herself to be prone to lashing out. I mean, catcalling is enough to make her lose control. But they couldn't have known this. I guess they were willing to take that gamble. Jen spots some men in black recording her. Still taken by rage, she rushes after them, crashing through a wall to grab one. But before she can do anything, she's surrounded by law enforcement. She stands there, disheveled, hands up, snarling like a beast. I quite like this sequence's execution. A lot of elements come together to convey Jen's raw emotion. Claustrophobic close-ups mixed with the oppressive feeling of harsh lights and a blaring alarm help to convey Jen's building frustration and anxiety. And I like how the alarm morphs into a part of the music. As if the chaotic noise surrounding her has become the soundtrack of her life. For a show that's lacked an ounce of creativity thus far, I appreciate the efforts put into this sequence. Aspects of this scene seem to harken back to the Incredible Hulk. The shots of chaos and panic feel similar to a traditional Hulk out. And maybe it's just me, but the music here is reminiscent of Hulk's theme. This draws comparison between She-Hulk and that version of Hulk, the one viewed as a monster and a danger, helping to emphasize the impact of Jen's rage. This scene both visually and audibly alludes to how Smart Hulk's warning has come to pass.
I don't think you have thought through how dangerous this level of power is. You know the damage you can cause? One mistake, one freakout is literally life or death. You can't be emotional. Just regular anger means death and destruction for everything and everyone around you when people start seeing you as a monster that never goes away.
This episode might be the best so far, though that's not saying much. Daredevil was mostly treated with respect and dignity. He has his moments of inexplicable stupidity, but he didn't get the Wong treatment, that's for sure. Which is a nice change of pace. A male character that is generally competent and heroic. Why didn't Hulk get this respect? We get some development for Jen, though not quite in the way I hoped. She seems to be considering becoming a superhero, though only because she's learned it can directly benefit her. This isn't out of any real desire to help others, but out of selfishness. So I guess nothing's changed, really. Perhaps next episode we'll explore this further. We leave Jen in an interesting place, with her lashing out and suffering the ramifications. I've said this before, but maybe, just maybe, she'll finally be forced to deal with the consequences of her actions. After 9 long weeks, we've finally reached the season finale. Feels like I should do something special for this review. Let's do this. The episode starts with a parody of the 1978 Incredible Hulk intro.
Dr. David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have.
Jennifer Walters, Esquire, lawyer, millennial, searching for a way to balance a career and her personal life.
This parody serves no purpose, it has no relevance to this episode, or the previous one, and aside from a single throwaway gag,
Jennifer Walters is a woman at a new low. She has no more fight.
No, we're not doing a narrator.
It doesn't come back. It's neat, I guess, but ultimately pointless. Not a productive start. Jen is locked up because of her freak-out last episode. She's visited by Pug, Nikki, and Mallory. Jen is eager to identify the individuals behind Intelligentsia. She acts like they have no leads, even though the sex tape was filmed by Josh. Obviously, he's working with them, yet Jen doesn't seem to make this connection. Mallory says they need to focus on her case.
They baited you and you took the bait.
This confirms that Jen's freakout was Intelligentsia's plan.
I was angry, which is how anyone would respond in that situation.
But you're not just anyone. You are an out-of-control Hulk. That's what all the witnesses saw.
This harkens back to Smart Hulk's warning.
You know the damage you can cause? I mean, one mistake, one freakout is literally life or death. Just regular anger means death and destruction for everything and everyone around you when people start seeing you as a monster that never goes away.
Jen gets a plea deal. The DA won't pursue charges if Jen wears an inhibitor. After her release, she's fired from GLK&H and can't find another job. She's forced to move back in with her parents, and public perception of Jen has soured.
A neighbor who wished to remain anonymous said they are uncomfortable knowing an unstable super being lives just next door.
Let me tell you, she was psycho way before she got those superpowers.
All of this serves as the consequences of Jen's recklessness. She refused to take Hulk's warning seriously, and now she's lost her powers, her career, and her reputation. This is a welcome change to the show's usual MO, which is Jen does something terrible, and either nothing comes of it or she benefits from it. For once, Jen is held accountable. I sure hope this isn't completely ruined by episode's end. Jen gets to work tracking down Intelligentsia so she can sue them.
We know that Hulk King is the admin on Intelligentsia, but the site's security is annoyingly airtight.
Since when was Jen a computer hacker? For some reason, they're doing this investigation themselves, rather than contacting a working lawyer or the police. People who have more resources at their disposal. You'd think if Jen were serious about this, she'd want all the help she could get. Having no leads, Jen sulks back to her room.
Can you move the big bookcase for me? Oh, that's right. You can't be Girl Hulk anymore.
It's She-Hulk, Mom! Or was, but never again. Which I know is what I said I wanted, but this doesn't feel right.
Initially, Jen wanted to ignore She-Hulk and focus on her career. But over the course of the season, she realized She-Hulk could be used for personal gain. At the height of exploiting these powers, they were taken away, leaving Jen longing to have them and their perks returned. Jen doesn't seem to understand what she did wrong, and the following line makes that evident.
This isn't even a reluctant superhero story, I'm just getting screwed over.
She believes she's getting screwed over, rather than dealing with the direct result of her irresponsible actions. Nikki posts an embarrassing video of Jen to Intelligentsia, posing as one of them. This lands her an invite to a private event. Nikki and Pug go to infiltrate. For whatever reason, she doesn't tell Jen about this, even though it was Jen spearheading this investigation in the first place. Pug pretends to be a member of Intelligentsia to collect info on them.
Why does there even need to be a She-Hulk? It's not like there's a He-Hulk.
Nothing about this statement makes sense. Like with the trolls in episode 3, he's talking about She-Hulk like she's a fictional character. Why does there need to be a She-Hulk? In-universe, no one chose for She-Hulk to exist. She came about due to unforeseen circumstances. And what does he mean, there's no He-Hulk? Isn't that what Hulk is? Or is he referring to the use of that name specifically? If so, then the answer is that no superhero has been dubbed He-Hulk. Simple as that. As a reference to real-world critics, is this making fun of people who don't like derivative characters? Is that an inherently wrong position to take? What if they're just passionate about originality?
And Lady Thor?
Guys, she just sucks, okay? And I'm not just saying that because she's a female. I would have the exact same criticisms if she was a man.
There isn't anything inherently wrong with this statement. We would first need to know what his criticisms of Lady Thor are. Is the joke that he's obviously lying, and that he only hates Lady Thor because she is a woman? But why would he conceal this among men who supposedly 100% agree with him? Todd, the slimy guy Jen went on a date with, is happy to see that Pug is one of them.
This guy rules, all right? You heard it from me first. He rules, and he's hot.
Is the joke that they're gay?
You are gay.
Are the writers implying that men who hate women on the internet are secretly gay? Yeah, not the sort of joke I expected from these writers.
Do you pretend to be blind, man? Because that is really problematic.
Superpower should go to the best person suited for the job.
As with everything said by Intelligentsia, this is treated as a malicious suggestion. But it isn't. In an ideal world, you would want superpowers to only go to the altruistic and responsible. It's just not practical. You can't control who does and doesn't get powers. Maybe we're meant to assume he actually means only men should get superpowers? But again, why would he lie in a room full of people who think the same?
You think she boned Holloway? That's their boss.
Like you're mad about it.
Yeah, and it pisses me off.
The show is attempting to paint Todd as an asshole for assuming Jen got her job not through merit, but by unfair means. Except that's exactly what happened.
We just started a superhuman law division, and I want you, well, the She-Hulk, to be the face of it. I'll expect you to be at work and in court as the She-Hulk.
Oops. Though he's a little off the mark, they've accidentally given Todd a valid complaint. The show is so incompetent it can't even strawman properly. The writers have doubled down on demonizing the critics, yet fail in the attempt. They've tried putting the fans' criticisms into the mouths of the villains, but they either make no sense in context or aren't the hateful comments the writers think they are. Jen decides to pay Blonsky a visit at his meditation retreat. Shortly after she arrives, Wrecker directs her towards a lodge where he's hosting a private event. Meanwhile, Todd introduces the Abomination. Is Blonsky working with intelligentsia? Does this explain the lies and inexplicable reformation?
No.
The dialogue makes it clear that Blonsky doesn't even know what intelligentsia is. He was hired by Todd to give a speech and only knows the vague things he told him.
I would like to introduce our very special guest speaker. He cost a ton, so you better cheer.
It's really an honor to be your humble life coach for the evening. I hear your group has all been making amazing progress. Every single person seizing their goal. Todd here has told me that you were all unsatisfied with your place in the world.
Although I'm not sure why a group that loves the Hulk would be stoked to hear from the guy that tried to kill him. He says some motivational phrases when Jen walks in, shocked and upset to see that Blonsky has broken his parole.
Emil, you've been transforming into the Abomination.
Yeah, I do speaking engagements. Nothing bad, strictly for profit.
So he's an idiot.
Blonsky has risked going back to prison to make some extra cash, when by all accounts, he was doing just fine. The show has raised a plethora of questions concerning Blonsky, and it's failed to answer a single one. Why did he want Jen to represent him, especially since she could have been biased against him? Why did he lie about the events of the Incredible Hulk? How did he go from a power-hungry fighter to a peaceful life coach? Why was he willing to risk going back to prison for something so stupid? None of these questions have been answered, and they likely never will be. He's one more character assassination to add to the list. Todd is revealed to Jen as the mastermind behind intelligentsia. I'd like to remind everyone that Jen started this episode trying to track down her doxers. Her investigation went nowhere, and now she stumbled upon them by complete accident. Brilliant storytelling. Todd reveals,
Your attractive date, Josh. I hired him to seduce you and steal your blood. Oh, my team also synthesized your blood, so it could safely give me all the powers you never should have been given in the first place.
It would take extensive research into Bruce's blood to be able to do something like this, which is why only 2 scientists could ever be called experts in the field, Bruce himself and Samuel Stearns. I highly doubt Stearns would give Hulk powers to a random schmuck like Todd, which means he's found a scientist capable of synthesizing Jen's blood with only a small sample and little time to do so. While this scenario isn't impossible, it's highly improbable. But when did Josh steal Jen's blood? It must have been the night they bonked, but we didn't see him do it. And that wouldn't have worked anyway. Jen's not sleeping through a needle in her arm. And even if she did, she would have noticed the painful mark the next morning. Did he steal one of her menstrual pads? Because that wouldn't be enough blood. The writers have cheated to get this payoff. So Todd is responsible for everything. But what are his motivations? The following line offers clarification.
I didn't just get handed superpowers. I had to earn them.
This follows up something he said earlier.
Is She-Hulk better than the Hulk? Is she as strong as him? Is she as smart as him? No! She wouldn't even have her powers without him. So why do we have to act like she earned everything?
But how does he know this? May I remind you, Jen has made few public appearances, and she's never talked about her powers' origins. They could have gotten this info from her phone, but this seems to be his core motivation, and they only got access to her phone recently. Todd is primarily motivated by an event he couldn't possibly know about, making all of his actions, and therefore the actions of intelligentsia, one giant gaping plot hole. Putting aside that issue, we can conclude that Todd resents Jen for receiving power and privilege without cost, which happens to be a shockingly accurate criticism. After accidentally becoming a Hulk, she mastered this new power immediately, skipping the years of suffering and hardship Bruce had to endure. She then used this power to get a job at a prestigious law firm, the attention of attractive men, and the adoration of the public. The show has accidentally made the bad guy correct. While it's not unusual to give some validity to a villain's perspective, the show has made it clear intelligentsia isn't meant to be taken seriously, so I could only attribute this to astoundingly bad writing. Regardless, Todd hates She-Hulk. Or does he? If he hates her, why has he been trying to hook up with her? It couldn't have been to get her blood, because his last attempt was in episode 8, after Josh had already accomplished his mission. The more you think about Todd and intelligentsia, the less they make sense. In general, Todd feels out of place to me. He was a throwaway character suddenly turned into the big bad. He doesn't even work as a twist villain. He was introduced as a piece of shit and then revealed to be still a piece of shit. I think Josh should have been the mastermind instead. Because of his intimate relationship with Jen, this confrontation would be more meaningful. Jen would be challenged emotionally, not just physically. He could use their relationship to taunt Jen, saying things like, "No one could actually love someone as terrible as you." This would emotionally compromise Jen, but it would also trigger some much-needed introspection and character growth. In the end, she would overcome her flaws to defeat Josh and prove his criticisms wrong, becoming a better person in the process. These possibilities are lost by Todd being the big bad, someone she has no emotional connection with. Nikki barges in. I don't know why. Most characters in the show aren't very bright, but she's been unusually dumb this episode. First, she encourages Jen to kill people after Jen got in trouble for a violent freakout.
And then we will find them and we will destroy them. By any and all means.
Legally.
I said by any and all means.
Then, when she discovers where Intelligentsia is meeting, she doesn't tell Jen about it. And finally, during their infiltration mission, after losing contact with Pug, she decides it's a good idea to just barge in when she hasn't a clue what's happening, breaking their cover.
Congratulations, you're a failure.
And then all hell breaks loose. Todd injects himself and transforms into a Hulk.
This can't possibly be where the season was going.
What are you talking about? This was blatantly set up all the way from episode 1.
It's way too dangerous to get out in the world, even if there's only a millionth % chance that it makes another one of us.
Okay.
He attacks Jen. Blonsky transforms to protect her. Titania crashes through a wall and starts fighting people. Smart Hulk drops in from the ceiling and, misunderstanding his intentions, charges at Abomination. All the while, Jen gives commentary.
Titania too? This isn't messy enough? What is even happening here? This is a mess. None of these storylines make any sense.
You know the phrase, from bad to worse? Well, this is where things go from bad to irredeemably broken. And I'm not exaggerating. Jen, I can't believe I'm saying this. Jen hulks out and breaks into the disneyplus UI. She then makes her way to the Marvel production studio so she can question the writers about the direction of her finale.
What the hell is that?
The first thing to figure out is, what is this place? Is it meant to be the real world? Well, it can't be, because no one reacts to She-Hulk like a normal person would.
She's supposed to have an inhibitor.
And shortly, we'll discover that sci-fi tech like retinal scans exist. Therefore, this must be an aspect of the MCU's reality, similar to the TVA or the gap junction. This means its existence has important effects on the wider MCU. Jen complains to the writers about the plot of the episode.
The bad guy steals my blood in order to give himself superpowers. Where did you come up with that original idea? Every other superhero story ever? Okay.
Previously, the show lampshaded its flaws, such as its reliance on cameos to garner attention. Now, it's straight up telling the audience that one of its major plot lines is stupid. The show has just delivered a middle finger to anyone at all invested in its plot. Jen wants the story changed, but the writers can only do what Kevin wants. They then proceed to suck off Kevin Feige with the power of 1,000 vacuums.
Kevin's value is immeasurable, okay?
You'll never even get close to him.
I would murder you to protect Kevin.
Jen goes to talk to him, but several security guards stand in her way. Even though she could easily walk past them, because she's a Hulk, she decides she wants to beat the shit out of them. Okay, we can add assault to Jen's list of charges. It's then revealed that Kevin is a fucking robot, and he's responsible for crafting every event in the MCU. He'll answer Jen's questions as long as she reverts back into human form.
The visual effects team has moved on to another project.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
I possess the most advanced entertainment algorithm in the world, and it produces near-perfect products. Some are better than others, but I leave that debate up to the internet.
The show's philosophy is antithetical to that viewpoint. It's made its critics the villains, and painted them as stupid misogynists.
They took the Hulk's manhood away, but then they gave it to a woman?
My friend sent me a link to a video posted on that site, Intelligentsia.
The one for hateful man babies?
I don't care what a bunch of losers say about me online. Can't even say it to my face because they know they get Hulk smashed.
The creature is driven by rage and pursued by online trolls.
Intelligentsia is made up of exclusively dumb dudes.
The show obviously doesn't think the internet has the right to debate its quality. Jen says she's unhappy with her story. Kevin says she doesn't have a choice. It's his story, not hers.
Regardless of creative ownership, can we agree that it is a legal comedy?
Only by technicality.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is known for its big spectacles and high-stakes plot lines.
I feel like Jen's missed the mark. I'd argue the MCU is best known for its overarching narrative and characters that develop across many movies. These elements can be fundamentally boiled down to continuity, something the show, and Phase 4 in general, has completely abandoned. But what did you expect from a show that can hardly remember what's happening scene to scene? Jen states that a common complaint is that all Marvel movies end the same way, which is true to a degree. We often get a nonsensical CGI fest that feels disconnected from the rest of the story.
Perhaps this is a result of following some unwritten rule that you have to throw a bunch of plot and flash and a whole blood thing that seems super suspiciously close to super soldier serum at the audience in the climax.
The radiation-resistant serum that gave Bruce his powers was literally part of a program aiming to recreate the super soldier serum. It seems suspiciously close because it is literally that.
I propose we don't have to do that. It distracts from the story.
Jen is annoyed because the story is distracting from the story. This was all set up in the first episode.
It's way too dangerous to get out in the world, even if there's only a millionth% chance that it makes another one of us.
Okay.
When you have powers like this, it's like putting a target on your back and the backs of all the people you care about.
This blood plot has been an aspect of the story since the beginning. Why is Jen acting as if this isn't the case? Have the writers forgotten their own scripts? Jen then presents the thesis of the show.
It distracts from the story, which is that my life fell apart right when I was learning to be both Jen and She-Hulk.
That is most definitely not the story. At first, Jen didn't want to use She-Hulk at all. She saw it as incompatible with her career-focused life. She then discovered that She-Hulk could be used for personal gain. It got her a prestigious job, success in dating, attention, and power. Jen's speech in episode 7 clarified that she doesn't view She-Hulk as her true self, but like a suit she can step into whenever she chooses. She wants to be valued as Jen, her real self, rather than as She-Hulk.
You know in high school, that friend that you have that's like cooler than you are, like more attractive and athletic, and they get all the attention from everyone? You think life would be so much easier if I were that person, and I can turn into that person anytime I want to. And everyone pays attention when I'm this, but it feels like cheating. Because would they like me if I didn't have all of this? Would the same guys who like She-Hulk stick around for Jen? Because some of them don't.
This conflict was resolved by the others inflating Jen's ego, telling her that she's amazing, incredible, and all the other adjectives. But in the following episode, rather than focus on being Jen like they suggested, she just continued to do what she normally does. Exploit She-Hulk for personal gain. There was nothing to indicate that episode 7 led to any growth, and there was certainly nothing to indicate that she was learning to be both Jen and She-Hulk. This thesis is bupkis. After incorrectly declaring what the story is about, well,
This is where it gets complicated.
Jen proposes fixes to the finale.
Well, can we not do Todd gets Hulk powers? Like, the powers aren't the villain. He is.
Right. Todd is the villain, and by gaining Hulk powers, he becomes more of a threat. For the first time since the pilot, Jen is forced to deal with a foe of equal or superior strength. Simply becoming She-Hulk won't automatically fix the problem this time.
Erasing blood plot.
Are you fucking serious? This storyline that has been running throughout season 1, that has had several important scenes dedicated to it, was just erased. Just like that. It's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Rather than face a foe she can't physically intimidate, rather than deal with the ramifications of ignoring Smart Hulk's warnings, rather than learn from the consequences of her recklessness, the threat just gets magically erased from the story. All of this buildup has come to nothing.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
And Bruce swooping down from literal outer space to save the day in my story?
Jen is as self-centered as always. Even the idea that she would need help from someone stronger and more experienced than herself is offensive.
Just remember whose show this actually is.
She wants the spotlight, and isn't willing to share it, even if it's to defeat a villain. Also, we were teased with a rematch between Hulk and Abomination. These characters haven't interacted since the Incredible Hulk, making this moment ripe for meaning and characterization. But it only lasted a second and now it's been retconned out of existence.
Disappointed! But Bruce is supposed to return to explain what he was doing
No, we don't need to hear any of that.
But we were going to introduce...
Save it for the movie.
We're denied an explanation for the event that kicked off the whole show. Without the random spaceship, we get no She-Hulk, no intelligentsia, nothing. The show has flat out refused to justify the most critical event in the story, making every subsequent event the product of contrivance. I guess they'll explain it later, but it's something that needed to be in this show. Jen starts asking random questions about the MCU.
What's with all the daddy issues? We got Tony Stark, daddy issues.
Jen.
Thor, daddy issues.
Please stop.
Oh, and when are we getting the X-Men?
I cannot tell you that.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
The writers have spent much of the show demonstrating just how ignorant they are about their audience. Now they want to pretend like they totally get them and are on their side. I feel embarrassed for them.
You obliterated the thrilling ending Kevin formulated.
That's what Hulks do. We smash things. Bruce smashes buildings, I smash fourth walls and bad endings.
And now we've reached the ultimate form of lampshading. The show has blatantly admitted it wrote this episode bad on purpose. They tried to make shit, and they succeeded in making shit. Way to go, guys. You did it. This sequence destroys any and all stakes. Jen can now rewrite reality for her benefit. There don't exist any circumstances where Jen is actually in danger. There are no inconveniences she can't delete, no consequences she can't subvert. The show recognizes this is a problem and tries to patch it up with a throwaway line.
You will not be able to access the KEVIN again.
What?
That error on our platform has been fixed.
But it's too late. They've let the genie out of the bottle. It doesn't matter if Jen has access to Kevin or not. Kevin still exists, and he still has the power to change reality on a whim. This is made all the worse by the show's inability to enforce consequences for Jen. It will forever linger in the back of the audience's minds. Did Jen succeed of her own abilities? Or did Kevin rewrite the universe to make it so? And this sequence raises many additional questions. How does Jen perceive her reality? If she understands that it's all a story crafted by an AI, does she view the people around her as real? Does she attribute their actions to them or to that higher power? Is she alone, free from Kevin's control? Is she the only person in the entirety of the MCU that controls her own actions? Events from later in the episode seem to suggest this is the case.
And Abomination?
After all that, I just want him to hold himself accountable. You understand that if you sign this, you go back to prison for 10 years for violating your parole.
Yep. It's the comic price I pay for my actions.
Oh, would not mind seeing Daredevil again.
Jen, I'm here to help.
Hey, Daredevil.
Did the writers not consider the ramifications this has on the wider MCU? I thought it was bad enough when Loki established there was no free will, but this is worse. Not only is there no free will, but the universe can be altered in any way regardless of logic or consistency. The MCU is now a universe that inherently and canonically doesn't make cohesive sense.
You maniac! You blew it up! Damn you all to hell!
I'll touch more on this topic at the end. The story resumes. Bear with me, as the following events are next level confusing due to what just transpired. The police have arrived and arrest Todd. But why? What's he charged with? It can't be for attacking Jen, since he only did that after becoming a Hulk, which has now been erased from the show. Is it because he doxed Jen? But there's still no proof of that. And getting him arrested wasn't even Jen's plan. It was to sue him.
How am I supposed to sue these guys if I don't know who they are? Okay.
The show is in such a rush to end this plotline that police have spawned out of nowhere to arrest him for no reason. And the worst part is, I think that's canonically what's meant to be happening. Jen approaches Todd as She-Hulk. He expects her to attack him, but she reverts back into human form and says,
I'll see you in court, babe.
This is treated like a moment of growth, but it's unearned. Jen has been prone to lashing out in anger. Suddenly this has changed, but we get no explanation as to why. At first, you might assume she's learned her lesson because of last episode, when lashing out cost her She-Hulk her job and her reputation. But if you recall, Jen doesn't understand what she did wrong.
This isn't even a reluctant superhero story, I'm just getting screwed over.
And none of the following events indicate any change in attitude. This event is meant to convince the audience that character growth has occurred, but it's put in no work to earn it. Daredevil drops in from the sky to help Jen, but he's missed all the action.
And I'm happy to see you.
Oh, thanks. Happy to see you too.
I'm blind!
Blonsky hands himself over to the police for his parole violation.
It's the comic price I pay for my actions.
Maybe you can write some haikus about it.
All right, Blonsky. Sarcasm?
Can't wait to read them.
Why is Jen acting like a total cunt to him? He didn't transform to do anything nefarious. It was just because some clients hired him to do it. Stupid? Yes. Villainous? No. He even protected her from Todd. Or he would have protected her from Todd had that sequence not been deleted. I guess Jen would still have the memories of those events, so it still counts from her point of view. Is she treating him this way because of how it reflects on her career? That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Jen's attitude is also hypocritical, as she also broke her inhibitor and transformed.
I'm just gonna break this inhibitor real quick. All right.
Wait a fucking minute. Jen also violated the terms of her release by hulking out. Why isn't she being arrested too?
Kevin!
We cut to Jen having a barbecue with her family and Matt. Jen's dad starts grilling Matt on how much money he makes.
It's very expensive raising kids in LA.
He's staying for a week.
I did not think the conversation was going that way.
Jeez. He stuck his Charlie Cox in her one time and suddenly everyone thinks they're married. Smart Hulk shows up. He introduces everyone to his son, Scar.
Look at the top of his head!
The writers have decided to introduce this monumental development by casually tossing it at the end of the episode. As a joke.
Wow, you're family.
We get no build-up and no explanation. The revelation just sits there with no impact and no purpose. Isn't it a common complaint of Marvel movies that they always need to advertise the next Marvel thing? I thought the show was all about subverting those criticisms.
It's often said that Marvel movies all end the same way. Perhaps this is a result of following some unwritten rule that you have to throw a bunch of plot and flash at the audience in the climax. I propose we don't have to do that. It distracts from the story.
I guess not.
After a criminal conspiracy came to light, She-Hulk, the superpowered woman known as the cousin of the Hulk, has been cleared of her previous conviction.
Oh, come on!
The fuck is he talking about? Regardless of whether she was provoked, Jen still went on a rampage. At this point, Jen has eluded all consequences set up from last episode. A dangerous plot to use her blood gets magically erased. Intelligentsia gets arrested, even though there's no crime to charge them with. Jen breaks her court orders and hulks out with no punishment. And now the original charges have been dropped, just cuz.
You know what's bullshit?
This show is bullshit. When I titled my last video, Jen finally faces consequences, I decided to put a question mark at the end. And this episode has vindicated that decision. While I hoped Jen would finally deal with the consequences of her actions, I also knew the finale had the potential to undercut this. I just never expected it would be to this extent.
People like Todd Phelps have to be held responsible for their actions.
The problem with you is you're completely delusional.
These have to be the least self-aware writers that have ever put pen to paper.
The message we're sending is that if you attack, harm, or harass innocent people, I'm coming for you.
Bitch, you've attacked, harmed, and harassed innocent people.
Do you mean in the courtroom or as a superhero?
Both.
And we get yet another moment of quote-unquote growth. Last episode, she was considering becoming a superhero because it could be used to bolster her career. Now she's committed to the idea, but there's been nothing in the episode to push her towards this decision. It's not a contradiction, it's just underdeveloped. It's also a moment of shallow altruism. Jen is a superhero for personal gain, not because it's the right thing to do. We then cut to credits. Wait, where's the trial? Jen insisted upon going with the legal comedy resolution over the typical Marvel ending, but we don't even get to see it? So they tossed aside the original conclusion and replaced it with nothing. How did the writers think this would be at all satisfying? In the mid-credits scene, Blonsky is visited by Wong in prison. Because despite becoming aware of how sorcerers can effortlessly portal into high-security facilities, Damage Control has made no efforts to prevent this happening again.
You took your time. You got sucked into another show, didn't you?
We're really in an era of peak TV.
And in the final scene of the season, we get our first instance of a character other than Jen breaking the fourth wall, because the show spits on the concept of consistency. And peak TV. This episode was far worse than I could have predicted. Overall, the finale is a series of convoluted events haphazardly stitched together, culminating in the ultimate nuking of the shark, transforming it into this grotesque thing, hobbling around pretending it's a real story. As this is the finale, I think it appropriate to look back on these 9 episodes and sum up my thoughts on the season as a whole. Let's talk about Jen. She's one of the worst characters I've had the displeasure of encountering. She's hypocritical, self-obsessed, self-centered, judgmental, inconsiderate, reckless, and immoral. And the worst part is, the show insists otherwise and shields her from the consequences of her actions. Characters constantly validate her shittiness and inflate her ego.
That was so good. I almost cried during parts of it. It's amazing. It's so great.
It's really smart.
You're not the only genius in the family.
And she is going to be a megastar. You can do better. You deserve better.
Female Lawyer of the Year?
Because I bet Jen is pretty damn great.
and her opponents are made stupid and ineffective, so she appears more impressive by comparison.
How would you characterize Mr. Bukowski?
Self-absorbed, chauvinistic, conceited.
Sorry. That's why I'm an entrepreneur.
In what field?
TBD.
More real magic.
Oh my God, even the lawyer's a magician. And you made my dumb client admit to being even dumber than I thought he was in court.
Intelligentsia is made up of exclusively dumb dudes.
The show was one big masturbatory session for Jen.
You flick too hard, damn it!
Despite the show's insistence, Jen hasn't grown at all. There are moments that act as though growth has occurred, but they're either unearned or hollow. This is because the writers want Jen to appear to grow, but don't want to admit she has major flaws to begin with, so we end up with a character that is perpetually stuck in limbo. And the show is constantly contradicting itself when it comes to Jen. She's permitted to do basically whatever she wants, without retribution, despite espousing the need for those with power to be held accountable for their actions.
What is the responsibility of those with power? Do they merely have an obligation to refrain from the misuse of that power? Or do they have a duty to protect those without it? Show them that they will be held accountable, because those with the most power have the most to answer for. After all that, I just want him to hold himself accountable. People like Todd Phelps have to be held responsible for their actions.
The show spends a lot of time telling us her virtues while showing us the opposite. For instance, Jen is meant to be a great lawyer, but we're shown that she's one of the worst. For Blonsky's parole hearing, all she did was call some witnesses, despite having info that could exonerate him of his original crime.
The serum the government gave you caused your subsequent actions?
She's only able to help Wong in his case against Donnie Blaze by threatening to kill him. When hit with a lawsuit, her first instinct is to represent herself, despite this being a basic no-no. And she lost the case against Jacobson because she didn't even bother to ask Leapfrog some basic questions. She sucks ass. The show is built on a foundation of sand. We have an origin that occurs due to an unexplained contrivance, giving Jen powers that don't obey any consistent rules. The conceit of the show is that Jen works at a wacky superhuman law firm. This only happens because Jen gets fired for saving lives. And that only happens because Titania, for no reason, crashed into a courtroom and started attacking people. The entire premise of the show collapses in on itself, and this lazy writing is standard for the whole show. Characters commit to radical actions without motivation, and the rules of the world bend and twist to accommodate the plot. The writers seem to understand that this is poor writing, but they don't care. They think some lampshading is all that's needed to excuse it.
I just want to make sure that you don't think this is one of those cameo every week type of shows. Well, except Bruce. And Blonsky. And Wong. God, everybody loves Wong. It's like giving the show Twitter armor for a week. We smash things. Bruce smashes buildings, I smash fourth walls, and bad endings.
That's what the finale is. One giant lampshade. I expect for people to argue that She-Hulk is a comedy. Therefore, it doesn't need to adhere to logic. This is wrong on multiple levels. First of all, even though it's a comedy, it attempts to pay off meaningful character arcs and high-stakes plot lines. For the audience to be at all invested, there needs to be a coherent through line. Otherwise, why should they care? If Wong can be deemed a criminal of the US in one episode, and then nonchalantly appear in a courtroom the next, how is there meant to be any stakes? Second of all, She-Hulk isn't a standalone property. It's a part of a wider cinematic universe, building off of numerous projects that came before it. As a sequel is bound by the rules of its predecessor, She-Hulk is bound by the rules of the MCU. Otherwise, what's the point of this being an interconnected universe? You can't pick and choose what counts. It doesn't work like that. Either it's a part of the MCU, or it isn't. She-Hulk continues the downward trend of Hulk's character. He's been once more robbed of his confidence, with insecurity, jealousy, and pettiness left in its place. There's an overwhelming air of disrespect surrounding him. He does everything he can to help Jen, and in return, his experiences are belittled and his trauma is mocked. He's then promptly kicked out of the show because Jen can't bear to give him even an iota of credit.
And Bruce swooping down from literal outer space to save the day in my story?
It comes across like the show is written by people who hate the Hulk. But it isn't all negative. His strong moral backbone remains intact. He believes that power comes with responsibility, and unlike Jen, he lives this principle.
We can live between what we want and what is, but we can't pretend like we aren't two of the few people on Earth that can actually protect her.
Despite the humiliation, he holds strong to these values and remains a heroic character. He may have been brought down even lower, but some of that old character still remains. We can only hope the damage is one day repaired. The pilot painted every male character as either incompetent or malicious. Since then, the show has gotten better about this. Barely. Characters like Jen's dad and Blonsky aren't vilified, but they're still often the butt of jokes. Daredevil gets treated with some respect, but that might only be because Jen's sopping wet for him.
Oh, would not mind seeing Daredevil again. A woman has needs. Well, yeah, that's what Hulks do. We smash things. I smash fourth walls and bad endings. And sometimes Matt Murdock.
In general, men are painted in a poor light. Jen's dating life is abysmal, and the show puts the blame on men being generally shitty people. Even those that appear to be good guys are eventually thrown under the bus. The handsome, suave, understanding doctor is depicted as an asshole.
But that extremely attractive man said in there, "You can do better. You deserve better."
And Josh is secretly a villain. Daredevil is the only exception, though as previously demonstrated, Jen's only interested in sex, not a relationship. So his character, beyond the superficial, is kind of irrelevant. I also suspect Marvel forbade the writers from demonizing him. After all, he's a popular character with a new series on the way. Intelligentsia is the big bad of the season, and every member is depicted as a stupid, pathetic misogynist. And their existence is meant to be an insult towards the show's critics, suggesting that only man-babies could possibly hate She-Hulk. Suffice it to say, the show has a low opinion of men, which is a good way to drive away your core audience. Now let's return to that scene, where the writers deliberately and gleefully sabotage their own story. They intentionally created a plot full of holes and contradictions, so the main character could point this out and fix it. And by fix it, I mean break it even more. Did the writers think they were being clever? Did they think this would shield them from criticism? This episode annihilates any and all stakes from the story. In universe, these are not a series of events playing out due to cause and effect. Rather, they are forced to happen by an AI that isn't beholden to canon or continuity. Based on the rules set up in this episode, anything can happen and no reason need be given. It also destroys the audience's investment. If anything can happen regardless of logic, why should they care? If Jen makes a huge mistake, why should they worry for her? The universe can just be rewritten to get her out of trouble. Nothing matters. Consequently, the characters lack free will. They don't act to achieve their own goals based on their own motivations. They are puppets that can be made to do whatever Kevin pleases. In a way, this explains why previously established characters act nothing like themselves, and why actions don't correlate to the appropriate consequences. Jen alone possesses free will. The world is literally molded for her benefit, validating her exaggerated sense of self-importance. This means that she has free reign to act however she pleases, because there will never be any real threat of consequences. Therefore, there cannot exist an impetus to improve, and thus she will forever remain an awful person. You might think I'm reading too much into this. I disagree. When breaking the fourth wall was just used to tell jokes, it was fine to ignore these heavier questions. After all, these moments didn't impact the story, and so could be considered non-canon in the context of the universe. But that's changed. Now it has real and strong influence on the world, changing it from a comedic device to a fundamental mechanic of the MCU. And the audience has to work with the info they're given. If you demonstrate that anything can happen without rhyme or reason, can you blame them for concluding there's no longer any stakes or meaning? Can you blame them for feeling like this was a waste of time? For any aspiring writers, please, learn from She-Hulk's mistakes. You need to think about what you add to your stories. Everything you toss in has a ripple effect, impacting the world, the plot, the characters, the tone, the theme, everything. If you're not considerate, you may end up like She-Hulk, and unintentionally destroy everything you've sought to create. Thanks for watching, with special thanks to channel member whatever. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and a comment, and consider becoming a member. For $1, you get access to custom emojis and members-only posts. And for $3, you get access to members-only videos and end-of-video shoutouts. If you're interested, check out my analyses of Hulk in the MCU, and my review of Daredevil Born Again. Till next time.